Okay, hey guys, welcome to today's True Canadian True Crime. Hey, Charmaine.
Canadian true crime. Hey,
Yeah, yeah,
everyone.
yep. Today's one's going to be very interesting. Charmaine came across it about a week or so ago there, and then she shared it with me, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do this one. Um, Very interesting case. Go ahead, Charmaine, give the gist of it. And hey guys, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so bizarre because I mean, the more I think about it, the more I really don't think that I'd heard of this before, and which is crazy because I'm really into true crime and Canadian true crime especially. So when I saw it, I thought, what the heck is this? And as I read into it, I can understand how it kind of flew under the radar in a way, but there are so many things that are questionable, and I want to dig into it. And by no means do I think that we're going to be able to solve this. Obviously, we say every time we do one of these shows that Canadian law is different than the United States. We do not have access to information like they do in the United States and other countries. So, um, unsolved crimes. And so, if you're looking at an open case or a mystery or something, good luck finding anything. We were lucky enough to come across some writings of an author who happened to also be a private investigator who had some, he fought for a long time with the Freedom of Information Act to get certain documents and pieces of information for him to
And
write.
video. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did a number of interviews, and we were planning on reaching out to this man because he was very open and he was very, he was very good with giving interviews, but unfortunately he passed away in January of this year. So, um, but basically the gist is these six boys that you're seeing on your screen, we'll go through them all, but they all went to a house party, and I believe it was the Friday before spring break were to start. So they were just kind of kicking off their spring break, and they went to a house party. There was about 40 or 50 people at this house party, and these kids left at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, saying literally that they were going to go goof off at the arena or the marina. And that was the last time they were ever seen. And you can't even say the last time were ever seen alive. Like, these boys vanished into thin air. The story goes that they stole a boat and maybe capsized, or the boat sunk or something, and no remains or anything have ever been found. But like I said, as we read and as we got into it, Sunny and I were both like, what? That's
Yeah.
suspicious. So we thought
Strange.
it would be very interesting to get everybody's feedback. And I don't know. I don't think there's any kind of reward or anything for this case. I don't think the police are looking into it at all. But yeah, we
Yeah.
can we can
In
dig in
fact,
and see what we think.
it only took them 36 hours to determine that they died of hypothermia in the water.
Yeah.
Um, and they didn't actually have any evidence to prove it. It
Mhm.
was just the best assumption of what had happened to them, but
Mhm.
nothing has ever been confirmed.
Nothing.
But yeah, um, so in front of us here we have Chad Smith, Danny Higgins, Jay Boyle, which is the family that really was talking to Bruce Ricketts a lot. Was that family right there?
The
And
J
then
Boyle.
pardon,
The J Boyle.
well, yeah, actually it was Jay Boyle, because I believe it was Bruce when he said that Jay Boyle actually just had a child.
Yes,
Um,
Jay Boyle had a girlfriend that he lived with in a basement
yeah,
apartment, and they had just had a baby.
mm,
And this is the girlfriend that still to this day is looking for answers.
yeah,
So, and one of the only ones, like, the families do gather every year to kind of, I guess,
1995. Yeah,
remember whatever, but they're not public. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
yeah,
If that was my kid, I would be like Becky Patty. I'd be screaming from the rooftops. Like, where is
absolutely.
my child? What happened to my child? And that
Mhm.
just doesn't seem to be happening with this case.
Yeah, and Lacey, March 17th, 1995 is basically 28-year-old case here. So JB Lafab, I believe is what Bruce Ricketts had said. When he said how to pronounce that last name, and Michael Cummins and Robbie Rumbold. And so we'll look at a little bit like there's old time video clip of where you can see three boys pass this camera. But you know what, there's a great story, part one, part two, and part three. So to give you guys a better idea of the situation within this case, we're gonna start doing that. So I'm just gonna pull up number one, and Charmaine, just give me a second here. Okay, that's part one. Okay, now, okay, so Charmaine's going to start with part one, the mysterious of the lost boys, and it's not that long, but we're going to go through it. That way, you get an actual idea of everything that went on, and it's very interesting. So go ahead, Charmaine. You guys, like I said, you might not be able to see it that great on your computers, but it's not like I can enhance it. But anyways, just listen to Charmaine's sweet voices. She starts reading part one here.
Yes, and so St. Patrick's Day, and I don't know, I didn't get all the way through this article, so I don't know what it says. So I think everybody should be familiar with the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
They're not regular lakes like I look at lakes or Sunny looks at lakes, in BC and Alberta, or in the States. You have lakes and they're pretty big and stuff. They're freshwater, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But these Great Lakes are massive. Once you're out in the middle of the lake, you feel like you're in the ocean because they're so big. Lake
Yeah.
Ontario is one of the smaller of the Great Lakes, but it is still absolutely massive. So I'm going to get into this article.
Yeah, and so this right here on the screen, guys, this is exactly where we're talking about, Pickering, and this is in Lake Ontario there. That's just to give you a little bit of a looky-loo for a second. So hold on, we're going to hide that, stop screen, and then go back to the article. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So Pickering, not a day goes, what?
No, I just took us off screen so I could make it bigger for people.
Okay. Not a day goes by that Patricia Boyle doesn't think about her son. She wonders what kind of father and uncle he would be, or what he would have looked like on his 40th birthday. 40th birthday.
Wow.
Jay Boyle didn't attend that milestone birthday dinner on December 24th, just as he's been missing from all the family gatherings for the past 23 years. So this article was clearly 5 years ago because it's 28 years ago now. Jay was one of 6 teenagers dubbed the Lost Boys, believed to have stolen a boat and water tricycle and taken an ill-fated ride on the frigid waters of Lake Ontario in the early hours of March 17, 1995, after a night of partying in Pickering. Say that 3 times fast. It was like a dream that's still not real to me, Patricia said. The disappearance of 17-year-old Jay, 18-year-old Chad Smith, 17-year-old Robbie Rumbold, all of Pickering, 17-year-old Jamie Lefebvre of Scarborough, 17-year-old Michael Cumming from Oshawa, and 17-year-old Danny Higgins of Ajax has stumped investigators and family members for more than 2 decades. Video surveillance caught 3 of them breaking into a marina on Frenchman's Bay, but there's been no sign of the teenagers since, or virtually anything related to their disappearance, nothing that's been confirmed anyway. A gas can, believed to have belonged to the 14-foot Boston Whaler replica police think the boys stole, washed up in Wilson, New York, but private investigator Bruce Ricketts has questions about even this, as do I. Jay's parents and the 4 Boyle sisters lost their son and big brother the night of the boys' disappearance. Sisters, I don't know. Sobin Boyle and Amanda Boyle and their mother all remember Jay the same way. He was funny and outgoing. He loved his family, that's for sure. If you're a friend, you're a friend. He'd stick up for his friends. One more time, Sunny.
Oh, Sobin?
Sobin was just 12 years old when her big brother went missing. Amanda was 15 and shared Jay's group of friends. She was supposed to go to the party at Chad's new apartment the night the boys disappeared, but was sick and stayed home. The next day, Amanda heard from Jay's girlfriend, with whom he had had a baby and was living with, that her brother never came home. At first, I wasn't too worried because Jay had a tendency, not that he'd take off, but he had friends in Toronto too. He would go to Toronto, but he always kept in touch, said Amanda. The sisters searched for weeks for their brother. I participated in every single search there was. It was really emotional, said Amanda. The Boyle home became the base camp. We had so much family. We had neighbors dropping off food. It was ground zero, I guess. It was a mess. When Jay, an avid baseball player, didn't show up to play that season, a cloud shadowed the hope of the family, the family had clung on to. Amanda, Jay's loyalty to his To Amanda, Jay's loyalty to his family was the true indicator that her brother wasn't hiding out, planning to return one day. As time went on, I kind of started accepting it because Jay wouldn't do that to my mom or leave his daughter, she said. Saying it was difficult for the families involved is an understatement. Never one to get into a fight before her brother disappeared. Sobin says that she fought her way through teenage years when kids would laugh at the situation or make comments that her brother was dead. That's not something you want any teenager girl to do is fight all the time, but I thought that everyone was out to get me and didn't understand me, she said. Sobin and the family did the best they could to keep Jay's memory alive for his daughter. Her mom always had pictures of her. I'm sorry, I left my glasses at work, guys. Her mom always had pictures in her room of Jay. She says of the mother of Jay's daughter, now a young woman. His daughter always has been at the beach there on his birthday. The families gather each March 17th at Frenchman's Bay to remember the boys and to keep their memory alive. I think it's important to keep it out there and in the public for all the boys. Maybe someone might know something that has some truth to it, might look at their picture after all these years and think maybe I should speak up if they do know something. Patricia will always have some hope that her son will come home to her, but she too knows Jay wouldn't have abandoned his family. I hope we bring him home, either way, just so I can say bye, and for my girls, they've gone through it a lot, too, she said. Soben wants to find answers to the questions that she hasn't been able to shake from her mind. The video that captured the boys at the marina the morning they disappeared did not provide many answers. I think the one thing that's always bothered us is the security camera of the boys. They only got 3 of them. Why weren't there 6? Where is the boat? Why haven't the bodies or at least one of them surfaced? Years after the disappearance, pants closely resembling the pair Jay was wearing the night he disappeared were found in the Niagara River. They contained remains, but DNA has not been extracted, which that I don't think is accurate because they did, and in
Right.
2018 determined that the
Yeah.
remains did not belong to Jay Boyle.
Yeah.
There are literally hundreds of questions that I have. Yeah, that would make sense because this was like over 5 years ago. There are literally hundreds of questions that I have that I've actually put to police, and they've not responded to any of those requests. Why? I don't know, Rickett says.
Okay. And so let me come back here. Okay. And then, whoops. Hi, guys. And then I'm going to go to, I don't know why it's on that one. It should be on this one. Okay. Number 2. 2.
Yeah, the Boston Whaler, from what I understand, it's a boat that's got like a specialized bottom to it that's mostly foam and completely
Yeah.
um, like an actual Boston Whaler is considered an unsinkable vessel. So this being a replica, you would think that would be one of the replicated features. Do you know what I'm saying? So we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
that
I was going to
makes
say
me
we'll
all
get into all that.
suspicious for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll get into all that once we finish this. Then we'll come back because I'm on a different screen myself. I can't actually see the questions until I come back over. Okay, so let's see here. So this should be part 2, I believe, right? Okay, part 2. Okay, Pickering, the family of a missing teen and private investigator questioned why police took 36 hours to begin the search after Jay Boyle, Chad Smith, Robbie Rumble, Michael, Danny, and Jamie went missing. They wonder what happened to some of the evidence and what more could have been done to find the boys, some of whom were no strangers to the police. The police didn't take any of the reports seriously, said Jay's sister Amanda Boyle. The boys are believed to have stolen a Boston Whaler replica and a water tricycle, and we'll clear up that as well, from two Pickering marinas and taken them for a deadly ride on Lake Ontario. They reportedly left the party at 12:40 a.m. on March 17, 1995, planning to goof around at the local marina. A surveillance camera caught them entering East Shore Marina at 1:48 a.m. One or more witnesses heard a boat on the lake between 2 and 3 a.m. At 3:30 a.m., two teens reported them missing. By 2 p.m. on March 19th, a search was underway. The search, which involved several police forces and the military, was called off on March 20th, but police followed up on leads. Questions to the Durham Regional Police were unanswered, as the original investigators are no longer on the force. Still, police urge anyone with information to come forward. So officers are aware that this is a cold case, and we're hoping that if anyone has information on the disappearance of these boys, to contact DRPS, which is the Durham Regional Police Service, says Constable George Tudos. Any small piece of evidence which would benefit the investigation, if someone had something very small that they think is very insignificant, that is something that could into a whole case around and lead us in the right direction. Ottawa-based private investigator Bruce Ricketts had been looking into the case at no charge for more than 6 years. He says he faced constant roadblocks, and much of the information he received from the police through the Freedom of Information request is heavily redacted. They won't allow anyone. So be grateful in the U.S. for how much you guys actually do get, because it's way ton more than what we get here. They won't allow anyone in to take a second look at the evidence, he says. That only 3 boys were spotted inside the marina on camera puzzles the Boyles. Family members watched the video in 1995 and identified the teens on tape as Jamie, Robbie, and Michael, and no one else. They did not see footage of them stealing the boat. When the family asked to view the tape again, police told them that they didn't have it, the family said. How do you say something's not there that have the mums have seen, that all the families have seen, said Sobin Boyle. Neither vessel has been found. Okay, that something's not right there either. According to the FOI document, an employee from East Shore Marina said that the Boston Whaler replica, deemed to be unsinkable by many, was built but in rough shape. It would sink, but over a period of time. Ricketts wonders how nobody spotted the boat if it didn't sink immediately. He found in his investigation that there were some possible sightings, and a company that specializes in underwater searches using a technology called side scan sonar was asked by police to search after a possible boat sighting was reported. But he says before the company even had a chance to start the search, the contract between the police and the sonar company was canceled. A gas can was found in Wilson, New York, and believed to have belonged to the stolen boat. Now, I do remember, just quickly, this is my own words here, that Bruce Ricketts said that he tried to contact Adventures with Purpose, but that he had heard nothing back, which was sad, that he didn't hear anything back at all. He went because Jared had always answered me back. Whenever I'd emailed him like 3 times, and I always got an answer back. So it made me sad when he said that. He wonders how the gas can landed there, considering a witness stated that based on the currents and the winds that day, that boat would have ended up in Rochester, New York, which is about 120 kilometers east. FOI documents show possible sightings of the boys. Some put the boys in Kew Beach in Toronto, near the home of Jamie, days after the disappearance. But then one witness said she spotted Jamie in a Burger King near Clarence, New York on March 19th. Another person said she saw Chad at his home on March 17th. I don't read too much into them, said Sobin, who's heard many stories. The Boyle family said Jay wouldn't leave his family and daughter, but Sobin isn't convinced that the boys simply went for a joyride and drowned. I think there was something more to it that night, she says. Amanda knows they had taken boats in the past. It's not out of the ordinary that would happen, she says. To me, I honestly believe that if they did drown, but something still doesn't sit right with her. As much as I know he's gone, I just don't understand how they never found anything, she says. Rickett questions if drugs had anything to do with the boy's disappearance. The area was a hot spot at one point in time, he says. There was an awful lot of smuggling going on from Durham to the area of New York and back. This is one of the many questions he has put forward to the police. I think it will take reopening of the entire case, reevaluation of all the evidence that existed, Rickett says. There's too much hidden here. There's too much not being said. He said that OPP and the RCMP should investigate. The Boyle family and the Ricketts have been piecing information together from a separate case, but one they believe may be connected to Jay. In 1998, two sets of remains, one in a pair of red pants, were found in Niagara River. Jay was wearing red Levi jeans when he disappeared. Part three will focus on the pants and the hurdles. So uh, we're going to go back, stop screen for a second. We'll go over to part three, and Charmaine will continue to read this part. Okay.
So in Niagara, answers surrounding a pair of pants that a family believes could belong to missing teen Jay Boyle haven't been easy to find. Jay's sister Amanda came across a file on the OPP Missing Persons Unidentified Remains online database. OPP is the Ontario Provincial Police online database regarding a pair of pants containing human remains that were found in Niagara region in 1998. The pants and belt look similar to the red Levi jeans and belt that Jay was wearing when he disappeared in 1995. It is believed 6 teens took an ill-fated ride onto Lake Ontario after stealing a boat and a water tricycle from a Pickering marina on March 17th. The vessels nor the bodies were ever recovered. As extracting DNA from a small sample of remains has proven difficult, the remains are still unidentified, which what we said earlier, in 2018, they were identified and not connected to Jay Boyle. But as far as we're concerned, they're trying, says Jay's other sister, Sobin Boyle. Private investigator Bruce Ricketts questions the entire case surrounding the pants. He has been pressing both Niagara Regional Police Service and the Office of the Chief Coroner to get to the bottom of identifying the remains and clearing up questions he has. In fact, he's taking his issues with the Niagara Regional Police Service to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. Ricketts has started a GoFundMe campaign in order to do so. He's investigated the case for free this far, but with the high cost to take this one up, he hopes to raise $4,500. Ricketts' campaign explains one of 2 sets of bones found on April 10, 1998 in Niagara was encased in a pair of what police report at the time called red denim jeans from Levi Strauss. In 2014, the unidentified remains were sent to the Ontario coroner in Toronto for DNA testing, though the Ontario Ombudsman Ricketts and the Boyle family were granted a meeting with the coroner's office. Ricketts learned the pants studied by the forensic anthropologist had waterproof coating and cannot be a pair of red Levi's jeans from the 1990s. Why the contradiction in descriptions, he says. Who is right, who is wrong? Are remains recovered in 1998 the same remains viewed by the anthropologist in 2014? He also says that he has reason to believe that the remains were misplaced at one point and questions the continuity of evidence. They won't give me access to any autopsy information, he said. They won't give me access to viewing the evidence they have. Ricketts asked the Office of the Independent Police Review Director to step in, but his request was turned down by the office, stating that it was not in the public's interest. Niagara Police Inspector Jim Lee explains police were called in 1998 to the Sir Adam Beck Hydroelectric Generating Station in Queenston, which is next to the Niagara River, after staff came across 2 sets of human remains when they were cleaning out the grates in the forebay. This was the first time they were cleaned in 7 years. He said the pants could have simply looked red when they were initially found, but more orange at the autopsy stage. Is that red or is that orange? He says in an in person interview, pointing to the photo. Are they red when they're wet and as they dry out, they go orange? And then in the picture, he's pointing and says, here they're wet. He explains the remains were carefully put into an evidence bag and sent to Hamilton General Hospital for an autopsy. I have no questions whatsoever about the continuity of the items we recovered from Sir Adam Beck in 1998 to the items that were examined by the coroner, Lee said. The inspector says it is highly unlikely a body that went missing in Lake Ontario would end up at that station. And that's what I was saying too. The flow is completely the opposite direction.
Right.
So it's impossible for the remains to have come from Lake Ontario because Queenston is approximately 24 kilometers from Lake Ontario, he said. The Niagara River flows into Lake Ontario. So somebody would have had to travel up the Niagara River, and then they'd have to physically climb the encampment, walk around, and enter here. So he's obviously got a map up when he's doing this interview. But to Ricketts, a positive ID on Jay Boyle would open a whole new can of fish. How did Jay's body end up in the Niagara River if he was lost in Lake Ontario? The physics just aren't there. Police are also anxious to learn the identity of the remains. I can't say that it is not the remains of Jay Boyle, but it is highly unlikely, but we're still moving forward to 100% exclude him if that information is correct coming from the Centre of Forensic Science in Toronto. For the Boyle family, if the remains turn out to belong to Jay, there would be some closure. They're currently trying to get DNA again from those remains, they say, Simone said. When asked for confirmation, forensic anthropologist Kathy Grusbier?
Sure. Gruspier, looks like.
Grusbier?
Gruspier?
I don't like it. Wrote in an email, we are unable to publicly release information about any of our death investigations in accordance with the privacy provisions of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. I don't like that as true crime either.
I know, right?
Lee says, hypothetically, if the remains do belong to Jay, the Niagara Police Service would conduct an investigation. He did note when they examined the bones at the forensic autopsy, there were no obvious signs of foul play. Simone says Jay has been ruled out of the second set of remains found in Niagara. Her mother submitted a piece of his umbilical cord in order to create his DNA profile. Simone hopes the other families that haven't yet will submit their DNA as well. She says new legislation known as Lindsay's Law, which has created new DNA-based National Missing Persons Database, may now provide a chance that one of the boys will be identified one day. It would be nice for at least one of us to have that, she said.
Yes. Okay. So that's it for, hold on. Come back over to the screen over here. Okay. So that's for there. And so I'm going to bring up, do this for a second. And let's just take a look.
Bunch of really good questions in chat.
Yeah. If there's anything that you want to look at and answer there, feel free.
Because all the questions are all the questions that we had. And as we go through here, I think everybody's minds are going to start to be blown because the answers are not what you'd expect.
Well, let's do a couple of things to clear them up. So, like the tricycle was not the same day as reported. Bruce Ricketts.
I think as well. It was stolen from a different marina close by, not even the same marina.
Correct. So a lot of people are saying like as what was kind of seemed to be first reported that it was like the same day on the 17th of March, but it was the 16th day that the boys had actually gone to the marina as well, where they stole like this from a different marina close by. And it was on the 17th that supposedly it was right here, like a replica of the Boston whaler was reported missing. So that's kind of why they linked that to there, but they were on separate days. 16th, they were down at the marina. 17th, they were at a party and went to the marina. And that's where three of them were caught on camera. And then the other thing, Charmaine, was about the DNA.
The DNA. The,
Yeah,
the
because the
DNA
DNA,
did come back not much. I mean, obviously they didn't release whose DNA it was, but it was not related to this case, and that happened in 2018.
yeah, because they had like a long bone, as I remember them
Yeah, it
saying.
was like one bone.
Yeah. And so finally they were able to extract and then they concluded, but that's where things got a little bit strange because um so if we go here, so let me just show you this picture right here. Can you guys see that okay? So this is the marina back more like you like 1995. There's no view of it, so the closest would be 2002. So anyways, so there's a camera that's right here on the marina. The boys had come in through here, parked or whatever, and then they were caught, found walking, three of them, where this camera is right here. And according to Bruce Ricketts, it was in still within line of where the Boston whaler was that was reported missing the next day. And then the other camera is facing here, this White House over here. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of how this is right now, how it looks today. Make that a little bit bigger.
And my question is,
Go ahead.
why did they split up?
Well, that's just it. I guess we just don't know. Like kind of
Some of
like
the
Bruce said.
speculation was one like one group of three went to this marina and stole the boat, and the other group of three went to the other marina and stole the trike. But then we found out that no, well, the trike went
Mhm.
missing the following day. So
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but it's still being attributed to these boys, you know?
Yeah. And so it's like where was I gonna say? Okay, so this is the pair of red pants. So this is Jay Boyle here. And Jay Boyle was wearing a pair of red pants with a black belt size 32. Go ahead, Charmaine, if you want to if you want to explain this one a bit. I can
I
or
would
you.
just like to say that for all you people out there that aren't Gen X, in the 90s, red Levi's were the shiznit. I had a pair of red Levi's. Everybody and their dog had a pair of red Levi's. So this boy was wearing red Levi Strauss jeans. Do you want to go up to that close up of the jeans? The back, yeah. So we can see here, we all know what Levi's look like in that kind of telltale little orange tag there. But if you look really closely through the dirt, you can also see the Levi stitching on these jeans, right? These jeans are reportedly the same size 32, that Jay Boyle wore. Um, but
They're claiming they're waterproof.
they're now, not now, but later on at autopsy, they're claiming that these are actually waterproof, fire retardant orange parachute pants. So not denim at all. And why a 17, 18-year-old boy would be wearing fire retardant waterproof parachute pants
Mhm.
to a party. I mean, I guess that's back in the MC Hammer days, possibly would have
Yeah.
been, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how, what, and parachute pants don't have back pockets like this. They just
Right.
don't.
They don't. They have just side pockets, parachute pants.
So tell me, where are these specific jeans? Because what they tested, in my humble opinion, are not these jeans that are clearly Levi's,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
They're
These
Levi's.
these are not like a waterproof type pant. These
And
kinds.
the remains that we're talking about is one long bone that were found not even in these pants. These pants are not what was recovered from Niagara River. Um, Orange parachute pants were recovered in the grates of whatever the hydroelectrical station. They were cleaning the grates and they came across two sets of human remains. And these pants in the picture are what they were recovered with one long bone in them that they were able to, after many years, finally extract enough DNA to get a profile, and they didn't match Jay. But my point is the jeans that this boy is wearing are Levi Strauss, according to his family. And I'm backing it up because I had a pair of Levi Strauss red jeans. They were just the in thing. And then the previous picture, we can see the Levi brand tag on the back. We can see the stitching in the pocket. Those jeans are not these pants, you
Mhm.
know, they're saying they are. And it just, I don't know. It just,
Oops.
and that's the only thing that's ever been found. This
That's a
pair of
trike.
pants
Yeah.
and one
Ah,
bone, one bone of the boys. This is the only
what's
trace of
that?
that's ever been found. And the Niagara Regional Police Department was undergoing renovations. So this here on the screen is Bruce Ricketts, and he suspects that that evidence, the genes, were misplaced during those renovations, and then somehow got mixed up with the orange pants that had eventually been tested. Do you see what I'm saying? Like he thinks that the gap in time from when they were put in for autopsy or whatever and then sent to the hospital or the coroner, that that time in there, there's no continuity of evidence, and they somehow got mixed up with a pair of orange parachute pants that contained the bone of some other person.
And
Just as a
sorry.
side note, Lake Ontario is not un. How do you put this? There have been many high profile cases in Canada where the killer has used Lake Ontario as their dumping ground. We've got Luca Magnotta, who, you know, some feet washed up on the shores of Lake Ontario. We've got Michael Briere, who dismembered his victim's body and put her into Lake Ontario. And that's not even saying how many people have unalive themselves by throwing themselves off of the Niagara Falls and wind up in those grates as well. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's morbid to think about, but it's not unheard of to find human remains in that same area.
Oh,
But
really?
they're not going to flow from Lake Ontario up into Niagara River area. It's just not going to happen. The flow is the opposite direction. So it's
Uh,
just
some people, yeah. I mean, I've seen these before on the water, the trikes.
when I was 17, 18, I would have been all in to take one of these things for a joyride.
Yeah,
But does that look to you like something that would sink out of sight with no trace
absolutely not.
in 24 to 36 hours? Like you'd see it. You would see it.
Yeah, that something like that. That's not sinking.
You would
And
see it.
yeah.
At
Um,
least not like the tire or some debris or something, anything.
well, that's the same going towards, like I said, like, okay, so let's talk about this right here, Charmaine. We'll talk about the can.
Mhm.
Okay, so this had 25, they deemed that there was about 25 miles worth of fuel that
Mhm.
was in this tank. And go ahead, Charmaine, if you want to, or I can. It's up to you.
But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think both with Sunny, I think you're kind of leaning towards this was on that
Well,
Boston River, and I'm leaning towards it. It might not have been, and that this type of gas tank would have had to have been manually removed with
right.
tools to get it clean off the boat like that. So I don't think it's from that boat. But
So I was going to say, so Bruce Ricketts did an interview a year ago with, if you guys know Jason Hebert, you guys know Jason Hebert, him and this other lady and Bruce Ricketts had done a live on about a year ago on the case. And so so this is coming from Bruce Ricketts. He said that this actually is the can. Well, no, first of all, um, Jason and that weren't sure if this was like the actual can online or if they were just someone was just showing it. And then Bruce said, no, this actually is the can that they found in the water, a couple weeks later towards Wilson, New York, that was floating. So what he said about this one can is that where it says number one, there's like a dent there. And obviously it's written in Canadian and French, or English and French. So you know it's from Canada. So he said that this was the can from the Boston, or that Boston whaler, according to Bruce Ricketts. Okay. And again, 25 miles worth. But what he said also was, is that like, this is something, like think of a propane tank where you literally got to,
Mhm.
cling it on, hook it up type of idea. So this isn't something that just falls off. This would have had to have been, unhooked, taken off. And then not only that, but so when this was found, like the gas cap was like not on it as well, that there was actually no water inside of it. He said that it was just floating, but
It's strange because,
yeah.
I
So,
mean,
well, and so here, let me see here. So let me stop screen and we'll go back over to Google Maps for a second. Okay, so this here obviously is the marina. Okay, whoops, and Lake Ontario. So this is about 34 miles, just going straight across with Google Earth there, and this is Wilson right about here. So somewhere in this area is where they found this a gas tank a couple weeks later. What I thought was kind of pathetic about this case, and it doesn't really shock me with the Canadian cases that we kind of hear about, kind of like how you guys feel about the American ones, with the lack of almost like seeming like no real big effort put into it, because he said it was like from about 26 to 32 hours, something like that, or 36 hours before they even like were looking at the case. Basically, they just thought that maybe they were like somewhere else, da da
yeah,
da. So it took them, a couple of like a day and a half before they actually started looking into it. And then when they did, it only lasted about 36 hours, he said, before they deemed it as, and that's why they're saying like March 20th,
mhm.
but they basically deemed it as, okay, they obviously stole this Boston whaler. They all drowned at in the water and died of hypothermia. End of story. That's the best. So that was the most likely scenario to have happened. And so Bruce is saying, and kind of like this reminds me of the Lucy Leppy case because of not Lucy Leppy, sorry, Nicola case out in England there, where, it said that she basically hit that cold water and died within a few seconds. Um, and so it was like, okay, like cold water. I remember reading it up myself, and Bruce Ricketts was also, he said, like a cold water scuba diver as well. Right. So it's usually natural that, yes, a body in colder water, you can be kept down in the water, but six bodies is different than one body. So
And
he,
they were, yeah, I don't buy it because, yeah, it gets cold, but I think in the entire history of keeping records like this lake has frozen over like 3 times
mm,
ever. Like it's deep enough and big enough that it doesn't matter. It doesn't freeze over. And I get that doesn't mean the water wasn't cold, but these were young guys, maybe drunk and alcohol would play a part of it. But after a few days, their bodies, their remains would have surfaced. Something would have surfaced.
yeah.
I don't
Um,
care how cold the water is, they would have popped up somewhere.
well, that's just it, right? So it's kind of like here um, you have this replica Boston whaler boat that is almost like what they're trying to say about like the Titanic, pretty much indestructible. You can cut it in half and it's still gonna float. That and if it was ran over by say a bigger kind of boat in the area without, because it's at nighttime, we're talking like in the early morning here, right? That there would have been some debris, something, but they didn't. So all the only thing that they really found was this can. That was
with no cap on it, but no water in it, and you have to think in the middle of Lake Ontario, you're going to have those white caps and stuff, right? Like water would have splashed into that.
well, the trike was the day before, Darren. According to Bruce Ricketts, at first it was thought that it happened on the same night that the trike was taken and the Boston whaler, but the boys had, what according to Bruce, the trike was on the 16th, that they had gone down to the marina and stole that. And then on the 17th, they went down and was into mischief after the party, been drinking. And according to Bruce as well, two of the boys of the six, knew, kind of like grew up on the water and on boats and stuff like that. Um, so you have two different dates there for the trike and for the Boston whale. Now, again, there's no proof that they actually took the Boston whaler. So I'll go over, I guess, to
Which also leads me to wonder, and this is my pure speculation. I didn't hear it from anyone else, but if your boat, if some kids go missing or something, and you're, I don't know, an opportunist, you report your boat stolen for insurance money, even though it's not connected. I don't know. Like I said, that's pure speculation, but it's possible that it's not connected at all. Like maybe the boat was never actually stolen. Maybe the owners or somebody the owners knew took the boat away from the marina, because you would find something, some.
it's just what, like, this is a lake. It's not the ocean. It's a lake. They didn't find anything. And why would they cancel the contract for side scan sonar? That's why he reached out to AWP, because AWP does side scan sonar, but they never got back to him apparently. Shame on you, Jared. Then shame. Um, but yeah, like, meaning like there's no, besides that can, there's no other sign of dead bodies that floated up, when we're found, or body parts and stuff like that. And he was saying actually, like, the head is the first thing to come off because it's the heaviest. But there was no, like anything, right? They can't. It's not like they found the boat. Then that's why it's one of those cases where there's no proof that they actually stole that boat and went out on the water. But it's like, I understand why it's the most likely theory, but there's still no evidence to put closure to this case. So they were talking about, like Bruce was talking about, like the drug trade between the US and Canada, and type of thing, and that, like the boat could easily get tagged with a US number on that side and then, sold and da 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 da. That two of the boys knew, I get it, because everyone's thinking like, well, when they're drunk. But again, how do you sink a boat that's supposedly unsinkable? And then there's like,
no debris.
No debris. It's not floating.
Is that scientific fact there, Anne Room? Because that's interesting if that's true. Cold bacteria don't inhabit the remains and create the gas that causes a body to float, so they don't surface. Like, I don't know. Is that fact?
I know it's saying Lake Superior doesn't. Oh, and Lake Superior doesn't give up her dead. I know it. This is a different lake, but same idea. Cold and fresh. Well, I guess that's a thing, because here you have Bruce Ricketts, okay, so obviously the whatever research team that came in there for the water, talks about the cold water and how cold water, will hold a body down. And that's kind of what they were thinking about, Nicola Bully, because of the cold water, and how a body might not rise because of, like I said, the colder temperatures holding it down. But that's why Bruce Ricketts, who was a scuba diver and did cold water, he said, he just can't understand how six bodies can, like, so
and no clothing, no nothing ever, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it actually, Lake Ontario has a mean depth of 283, right, and its deepest point is 802 feet, right, exactly. And the thing is that it could like, all of that could absolutely be true, that they took a boat, maybe they took off the, the trike, and then, they, went out on the water. But again, how do you sink a boat that's supposedly unsinkable? They didn't find anything. And why would they cancel the contract for side scan sonar? That's why he reached out to AWP, because AWP does side scan sonar, but they never got back to him apparently. the gas tank. Who knows? Maybe someone tried to use it as a floating device, to hang on to or something, or it's out of gas, it stopped, whatever. Who knows? But it just seems like everything. It's kind of like the Nicola Bully case. That's somewhat it reminds me of. Everything would have to go so wrong, you know, and
Mhm.
yet by the same token, there has to be some point in that that's right, like meaning what seems hard to believe, kind of like how we feel about Kagan Klein in a way. How
Yeah.
do you stack all this stuff up? And if there's literally no attachment to Kagan Klein to Delphi, like you'd be a monkey's uncle type of thing. And that's
Yeah.
how it's
Ooh, in
like
my line of work, we call it the Swiss cheese model. Like,
the
it's
Swiss
so
cheese.
bizarre to think that that one hole is going to line up through an entire block of Swiss cheese, but it can happen. You can do it, but it's it's
Well,
very highly unlikely.
and that's got to be so hard. And in just a second here, right at the 1:48 mark in the morning of the 17th of 1995, which was a Friday, you'll see three boys go by the camera. There was other people at the marina that night. Bruce shows like three people, a female and what looks like a female and two guys, arrive at like 2:10. Supposedly, one of the people that live on the marina, here's a boat between 2:30 or 3 or something like that, taking off. Three, six guys together, drunk, are not going to be quiet people. I mean, even when they're going, shh, people are,
Yeah.
they're not going to be drunk or they're not going to be quiet, with that. So it's just one of those things like, so Bruce Ricketts, bless his, heart for trying so darn hard. And, I was going to reach out to him like, as well. And Charmaine was saying that because I was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this guy, get him on a live, and we'll talk about it, see if there's any updates since the last year or whatever. And then you told me that he had passed away in January, which I guess this January, right? The one that
Yeah,
just went
just this
through.
past January. Yeah.
you know he said that he had about 1,600 to 2,000 pieces of information, and he said it took him three times to get this, three requests to get this video footage. At first he said that there wasn't any, and he's like, well, of course, how can that be, because the moms had viewed this to identify their children or whatever. So, anyways, he said it took him three times because, like I said, it's not easy breezy to get this information in Canada. But let's just play this for a second. I'll take us off. I'll put us up here. I'll take the branding off for a sec just to make life a little bit better. So it's basically, you guys are going to see right here, um, three figures walk by. So Bruce is saying like we're the other three on the other side of the camera, type of thing. And these three were on this side of the camera. But let's just play this. I'm not going to play the sound because the sound will be irritating. And this is an inset camera looking at the White House. This is the other camera. So just keep looking here.
Darren, I don't know exactly how big the lake is. I do, but it's in my
Just
notes at
Google
work.
it. Yeah,
But
just
I know it is the smallest of the Great Lakes, but it is larger than a regular, like in my mind, the lakes that I go to for beach and stuff like that. It's still,
see. There's one. You can see the boys. Okay, three. Okay, we'll go back to that. Okay, they come into play here. See, there's one right there. There's another one coming in right there. And then there's the last one right. That one looks like he has a sombrero or something on his head.
yeah,
Oh,
bandana or something.
yeah, just the way it looks. Okay. Oh yeah, there looks like a bandana, doesn't it? So again, that's at like 1:48, 35. And so according to Bruce, um, okay, so hold on a second. Actually, we'll
And
come.
where are the other three? Why did they split up? Like if they were out to goof off together at the marina, where are the other three?
Mhm.
Because
Um,
the camera points the other direction towards the White House. So if they were anywhere in the vicinity, I don't know. You'd think at some point in that video you would see the other three, but you just don't.
yeah. So just to give you a refresher, the boys are, so this camera right here, this one where the red is, that where it says area view, that camera, and this is back in 1995, guys, remember, that camera is one of those cameras that does this, goes back like that, so it spans around. Whereas the other camera, the Instat one, is looking at that White House, and that's why you're seeing like the two cameras in there in a sense. So, go back to the page here. So, whoops, I want to make that bigger. Yeah, so they're heading this way, to the marina. Now, again, according to Bruce Ricketts, they're like right in line with where the Boston Whaler replica boat is, and that they were coming from a party up north, up here. So they came in, down, whatever, parked, got out, and yeah. So
So, Darren, okay, so little bit of speculation, and I can't remember if this was Bruce Ricketts or somebody else. There was a teacher who was actually involved in the drug trade. In
yeah.
fact, he had a street name, and the street name was the teacher. And apparently, this particular marina was kind of a what do they call it? A pipeline for drug trafficking into the United States and into Canada. So
Mhm.
one of the theories is that one or all of these boys got hooked up with the teacher and were tasked with making a run with drugs across the lake to the American side, and something had happened. Well, not on the lake, but maybe something had happened on the American side or on the Canadian side, either way, and they were disposed of or dispatched and disposed of. Um, because let's be honest, there's no real effort to make it look like an accidental capsizing, drowning scenario. If that was all set up, there would be something to show that. So, I mean, that's one of the theories out there, but I don't know if there's any investigation into it whatsoever.
Charmaine, quick question for you, because because there's only a part of me that's not fully 100%. Because did they walk down? Because I thought that I heard Bruce say that they drove, parked, and then walked on the marina. And so I see Anne asking that, because it was kind of like, at first I had it in my head that they just had walked from the party, which I
Mhm.
think he said was about like 300 feet, however far that is. And then I thought I heard him say like that they came in, they drove on there. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to that, because
Yeah, we'll have to, because my memory is that they walked to the marina from the
that's what
party.
I thought. That's what I was like. That's what I was thinking. And then I thought that he said something like about like they drove in this way, and I'm like, I thought that they walked. So unless
Mhm.
I just misheard it, um, actually, you know what, Charmaine,
I
I need
could
to
be
go.
misremembering too. Like I can't remember, but it's sticking in my head that they walked, because where the yellow is on this map, apparently the house party was just a couple of blocks from the map to the west. So
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Well, whoops, I'm blurry. I'm gonna be right back though, because I need to go to the washroom, and I'm just gonna go fill up my water. Um, and then maybe Charmaine can just see what people are saying, and then I'll quickly take a look and try to see if I can find that part.
Mhm.
Um, and see, because it's bugging me as well. because I was thinking, well, they were walking, and then I'm like, because they're drunk, right? So they're walking, and it wasn't like that far away. So, and then but then I thought I heard him say driver, like car, park the car. So I'm gonna have to go re-listen to that and see that. And if I can't find it, I'll just drop the link. You guys can go listen to it all yourself. To be honest, with Bruce Ricketts on there. But anyways, I'll be right back.
Yeah. So
You
Anne
ready?
says Lake Ontario is equal to about half the size of the state of New Jersey. That I mean, that's big for a lake. Like I said, it's not the ocean, but it's not like your typical "let's go boating this afternoon" lake. They're the Great Lakes. They're huge, and that depth, 802 feet, that's pretty deep. So, is it possible? Yes, it's possible, but I have a hard time thinking that an unsinkable vessel wouldn't have some kind of debris, even if one of those, they're not called ocean liners, but you guys probably know, but there's a name for these big vessels that travel on lakes and even rivers. They're shallow bottom, whatever, but they're huge. They carry loads of sand and minerals and stuff, but they do this on lakes and stuff. They're not ocean liners, but is it possible that one of those inadvertently hit this 14-foot Boston whaler and demolished it? Yeah, but to me, there would still be some kind of debris. I, maybe. Like yeah, inland seas, exactly, because they're that big. They're absolutely that big. And they're anything, and even if the cold water temperature prevented the gases from building up in human remains so they don't float to the surface. I understand that. But at some point, wouldn't a shoe come off? Wouldn't the bandana the kid was wearing, something come off and that would float, you would think. And with the drug thing, that, it's not out of the question that they got wrapped up in something they shouldn't have. And um, some people are good at hiding bodies. Like, I don't know, but all I do know, like 100%, is that if this was my child, I wouldn't stop looking for answers and demanding answers. And kind of what Amber Tuckerow's family was doing for the longest time, they were going to the media because the police weren't giving them information. They weren't giving them any answers. So you go and you make noise and you try to find out what's really going on with your kid. Thing is, there's only so far they'd go in open Boston whaler on the gas diesel. Yes. So 25, 25 miles or 25 kilometers worth of fuel in the gas tank, according to the owner of that boat. Which I think, if I'm not mistaken, would get them a quarter of the distance that they'd have to go to get to the American side. So I wish I would have saved that link, which I did send Sunny a couple of links to these articles with some of the more detailed information like that, but they did not have enough gas in that tank, according to the boat's owner, to get to the American side of Lake Ontario. So maybe they were drunk and thought that they could, possibly. A couple of the boys had friends in Toronto. Maybe they thought they could make it to Toronto to go party with their friends there. But we should also note that when they left that house party between 12 and 1 a.m., they had said, "We'll be back. We'll be back." They planned on returning to that same house party. Right. And bringing it up because that 25 miles would be the same perimeter of the search area. Absolutely. And I think that's probably why they made that perimeter. I would have probably gone a little bit beyond that because, the flow of the water and stuff. And that one of the pilots, and this is just hearsay, but one of the pilots of the helicopter reported seeing something just below the surface of the water, but nobody looked into it as far as the information that Bruce Ricketts was able to get. Nobody looked into that report. So why bother being involved in a search party if you're not going to investigate sightings? And I'm not trying to piece any conspiracy together or anything here, but at this time, CFB Trenton was the military base that lended the helping hand in the search. But guess who was the colonel of the base around that time? Russell Williams, serial killer, sicko. Like I said, I'm not trying to connect anything. These are just the crazy coincidences that can happen sometimes.
Charmaine, I'm just gonna play this part from the with Jason Hubert, Denise McGarity, and Bruce Ricketts. This is where he basically is talking about it here, this area. So I'll just kind of start it right here.
Right.
Cameras, especially the service area one.
Whoops.
It's very easy to find out basically where the top one was, the inset view camera was. But you can see that the service area view is very close to the boat launch.
Here, I'll do this.
And the boat launch is where the Boston whaler was being kept at that point in time.
Right here. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So
right there.
that gives you an idea of the thing. Now the party was actually further north than this. It was this is the street along here, parallel to it is Liverpool Avenue.
Is north up towards the White House up here?
Yeah, but beyond that, quite a distance up is
Okay.
actually where the party was being held at that point.
I was going to ask you if they walked down there, how far did they walk? Because it was 39 degrees in 1995 there.
Fahrenheit.
I actually measured that at one point in time. I don't recall exactly. It's probably in the range of about 300 yards, maybe.
Okay.
Can't say for sure, but it's in that range anyway.
Hmm.
And don't forget they had their artificial warmers going.
Meaning
They
drink.
drunk a few artificial warmers.
Right, right.
So,
Do you know how much, did anybody ever state how
No.
much the boys had drank that night?
no. It's very difficult to talk to the people who are actually at the party because a lot of them don't want to talk about it. Same with the families. Can't really get a hold of all the families because one of the families moved away and no one knows where they are, and it's tough to talk to the other families. Jay Boyle's family have been the ones that came forward fastest. They were actually the first ones that I contacted when I started looking into this case. So Jay Boyle's family is really the one that I've been working closely with throughout this. He has four sisters. Must have driven him crazy. Yeah. So, but anyways, that's the family I deal with.
Just real quick, since we're on this subject right now. Susan Meyer asks, how do they know that they even took the boat?
Well, there's no guarantee that they actually did take the boat. The correlation was that the boat was missing, was reported missing the morning after the boys went missing themselves. There was apparently two people living on boats in the marina who had early in the morning had heard a motorboat leaving the marina and going out into the lake. So there's only the you have to surmise that in fact a boat was taken out onto the lake.
Right. Yeah. Louise Haraway says, could the boats have never been launched? Maybe the boats were never used. The gas can could have been thrown in the lake. If it was empty, the boat wouldn't have been of any use to them. But that wouldn't explain the fact that the boat went missing, of course. Right?
No, and in fact, the gas can, according to the marina staff, the gas can on that boat had enough, had 3 gallons or so of fuel. Had enough to go about 25 miles.
Okay.
That's what they said at the point in time.
The
25
one
miles.
that went missing?
Yeah. Okay. So 25 miles, if you draw a circle from the marina, takes you in one direction almost to the edge of, actually to the edge of Toronto. It takes you halfway across the lake, certainly onto the American side of the lake, and then the other direction it takes you quite a distance down the coast also on the Canadian side. I should point out, by the way, that you asked the question earlier, Jason, or made the comment, or asked the question about the nuclear facility.
Right.
The reason why we investigated the nuclear facility, and by the way, we were unable to get the answers we were looking for, or at least to get the answers to the questions that we were asking, was because of the security surrounding the nuclear plant. And that kind of makes sense. The reason I took a look at that is because it's possible that with the amount of water that's being sucked into the nuclear plant, it's possible that things get sucked into it. So they have what's called trash racks there. But if they get past the trash racks, they can go into the impeller facilities and cause gumming up of the works and everything else. So I asked the questions of the hydro people, and I was not able to get answers for purposes of security, and that made sense to me. So it was kind of a a Hail Mary type of.
For sure,
type
yeah. I mean, you're trying everything at that point, right?
Right.
You never know what's going to work. Laughing Hawk, I think you had said the temperature, Denise. Laughing Hawk says, is there a record of the temperature of the water and the currents that day?
From what I saw, and I did some research through, about the lake. The depth of the lake is about 801 feet, if I'm correct, Bruce. And the temperature of the water on that day was roughly around, it stated 39 degrees. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 39 Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, Fahrenheit. Sorry.
I
Yes.
don't live in Fahrenheit anymore. Yeah, it would probably be.
We're weird like that over here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
But you notice I said that the boat was 14 feet long.
Right. That. But there is where he's sitting in a chair and he's wearing jeans that are very close to that.
Talk about
His mother bought them for him. In fact, she bought him 2 pair of jeans at the same time, one red and one green. My understanding is back in 1995, red and green jeans were in fashion.
Okay.
Yes, they were. I can vouch for that.
I got to admit, in 1995, I was out west at that point in time. So, anyways, as I say, I went to the point of trying to get copies of the police report, and it was very heavily redacted. There was never any DNA done on the long bone. So the Boyle family actually put together an online petition, got 50,000 signatures or something like that, and the package was finally sent over to the Ontario coroner, and the Ontario coroner did their investigation, and ultimately, making a long story short here, really short, they said that the DNA that they recovered from the bone did not match the DNA of Jay Boyle. Now, having said that, again, the questions pop up. The first question that pops up was, why is the report that I received from the Niagara police so heavily redacted? They initially claimed it was for privacy purposes. My question to them was, whose privacy? These are unidentified remains.
Right.
You don't know who they are. Are you protecting a bone? There was no answer to that question, by the way. Then I asked them the second question was, why did you redact the name of the officer who filed the report? And there was never an answer to that one either. And then the third set of questions popped up when I went to visit with the coroner, with the sisters of Jay Boyle. This is after the bones have been sent over. Initially, they said that they could not recover the DNA to be able to do the tests. It took them quite a while after that, after being pushed a little bit, and said, yes, we did find the DNA, it didn't match. But what popped up during the meeting with the Ontario coroner was, my question to them was, why did it take so long for the Niagara police to send you the evidence box? And the answer in the minutes of the meeting was that the evidence box had been lost or misplaced by the Niagara Regional Police because they they did some renovations in their offices, and then when they finally found them, they sent them over to the Ontario coroner. So then I turned around and asked the police, "Would you mind sending me a copy of the continuity sheets, the ones that if you follow anything with evidence, there's what they call continuity of evidence. So you have to take any forensic evidence and be able to follow exactly who's been touched them, where they've been located, where they're being shipped, who shipped them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is no copy of a continuity form that they've been able to show me. But then the worst part was when the Ontario coroner, the forensic anthropologist there, described the pants that she was sent. She said that it's not possible that these were red Levi jeans from the 1990s.
It's not possible.
Not possible. That was her term. It took me a while to get a copy because they took notes. So did I. But I wanted their notes. And in the notes it says that right in the notes that Dr. Grespier said that it's not possible that these are red Levi jeans. She said there were orange pants with a fire retardant on them.
I mean, they could have faded being in the water all that time, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
You got a photograph of the pants that you just.
Those weren't faded.
Yeah.
Well, they are faded a little bit.
But they're a little
not
to the
spots, but certainly not to the point where you can't see the Levi label on it.
For sure.
Right.
Those are red to my eye.
Yeah, and it's got.
You can even see the orange tags. I mean, the red, that's red next to orange. So these aren't orange.
Yeah.
So Bruce, is there any way somebody could send a picture of that to the Levi's company and actually see if they could determine what year those by the tag that's on the back?
I suppose we could. It's very difficult to do that because they don't have a lot of records themselves. I initially asked them at the time, could you describe for me or send me a photograph of a pair of pants from 1995 in the red and green at that point in time, and they didn't even bother getting back to me. Levi Strauss, by the way, is located someplace in Germany. So
right. I might have a pair from 1995 still.
I was wearing scuba suits back there.
Yeah, I was young back then, but yeah, I probably have a pair from 1995.
Showing your age, Denise.
Yep, show my age.
The bottom line on that whole issue is that is it possible that the pants that they sent, the evidence that they sent to the coroner, was not the evidence that was picked up back in 1999? That was 15 years later. So, not to say that there's something wrong here, not to say that somebody's doing something wrong, but it's again another question that needs to be answered.
Kubi, your friend Kubi, and Automobile, a few people are saying that Levi's jeans often have tags on the inside, and Auto saying multiple tags, couple tags, that have the year on them, they say.
Well, there was two things that identified them as Levi's. Three things, actually.
Year. Yeah.
Well, show the picture and you can see the tag in the back.
Well, there was three things that identified them. And we did find that out. The first one was the tag. The second one was the number of belt loops. Normally, Levi jeans have 5 belt loops. But in fact, the years that these red ones came out with the orange tag, as you can see there, had 7 belt loops. Okay. The third thing that identified them, and you can't see it too well on this picture, but there is that V stitching on the pocket. So those three things identified them as Levi jeans from the 1990s.
Okay.
Okay, red Levi jeans from the 1990s.
I think that's a pretty good piece. I would say that's a pretty good piece of evidence in my mind, apart from the gas tank. But
Don't forget, this was found 1999, 4 years
Right.
after the boys disappeared. So who knows?
Right. So many questions on this case and so many things that wasn't done. You know, my biggest question is because of the Boston Whaler, knowing that it is filled with foam, especially in the front, if
I'll let this part pay out and then I'll stop.
what could have happened on this water? You know, if it was very calm that night, there wasn't a storm, you know, what could the boys have done in that boat to cause it to capsize, them fall out? That is confusing to me, especially because that boat's supposed to float.
Right. Right. Even if the boat was broken up, I mean, one of the theories was that a freighter came along and ran over the boat.
Yeah, someone was asking earlier about if there's a record of
Yeah.
any of the larger ships.
Yeah. Well, there was no record of any freighters in that area at that point in time. That was number one. Number two, though, is even if the boat did get chewed up by a freighter, there would have been pieces of styrofoam and everything else floating down the lake, and there was never any reports of that either. Someone's asking about the sonar on the lake.
Okay, I'll stop it there. I hear you typing like mad over there, Missy.
I'm just trying to answer Sharon. Very kind, checking in on my daughter.
Yeah. And Sharon, Jason Hebert, yeah. You guys, most of you guys probably remember him from Delphi. He interviewed like Becky and Mike Patty. That's actually who I was going to have on a live with Becky Patty. And then that whole Kelly Brown shit erupted on there. And then, like I said, you know, Becky ended up being kind of pissed off, and you know, and the next thing you know, the gag order or whatever it was came into effect. And so, anyways, Jason Hebert's a really nice dude. He kind of, I think, has come back. Like he's doing like some cases again. He was talking about his work schedule, I remember before, and stuff like that. Anyways, nice dude. So I was kind of shocked when I saw him, you know, with this case, to be honest with you. Is he like, I don't think that he's Canadian. He lives in the United States. But he made a comment and I was like, wait a second, is he Canadian? But I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's in the United States. Anyways, nice dude. And so as to Anne's comment, I want to answer. So I actually didn't find him annoying at all. Myself. I feel like that he was just trying, yes, okay, maybe he had a book coming out and stuff like that, but I'm not personally equating it to like, here, I'm gonna have a book, so you know, I'm gonna make a ton of money off of this stuff. I mean, even in his GoFundMe thing that he was doing it all for free. And then even his GoFundMe had only got like $300 of the $4,500 he was trying to get, just to help, you know, like, because obviously things cost money.
Court documents and
yeah. And so, yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, I don't see it that way in a sense at all. I see it as somebody that is trying to help the families to have some answers. And the bottom line of it is that there is no answers. There's nothing to bring closure to these families, and the family that he was especially that was more forthcoming with him, as he said, was the Boyle family. And so, yes, I agree. Right. It's like nitpicking everything. But, and again, to me, that's kind of what the police do in an investigation. If the police were doing it, they look at all the different things that could be possible. But it is interesting in a sense when you have everything going against you that shouldn't have happened. So, meaning you see 3 boys, not 6. you only find a gas can, but this boat that shouldn't sink sinks. Even if the boys capsized it, like why, it'd flip over and you think it would still be floating. What about life jackets? Every boat has to have like freaking life jackets on it. Why wasn't the boys didn't have any life jackets and whatever? Because you know darn well, like it would be, to me, like it's like the law. You have to have life jackets on your
Back
vessel.
then it wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's always been, I guess, mandated, but it's only, I'll say in the last 20 years or so that you have to have a fitting life vest for every person
Yeah.
on, because we had boats all growing up and my dad always had life jackets, but if he had 9 people on the boat and he only had 8 life jackets, he wasn't getting any trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't as strictly enforced as it is like nowadays. Absolutely. But back then, I don't think so. And I mean, nobody was planning on 6 kids stealing this boat. You know what I mean? So there
It
could
says,
have been one life vest on that boat.
yeah. I mean,
Where's the life vest?
still,
There you go. Where's the life vest? It would have floated. That's
yeah.
its entire purpose.
Just what I'm seeing right here, it says Transports Canada, the first legal requirement to carry life jackets on passenger carrying vessels was introduced in 1852, followed by France. Anyways, bottom line is, like, and like Charmaine says, right? Typically there's 8 people and you got like, a couple life jackets type of thing. Nowadays it's like, yeah, I think you have to have one for everybody. Is that the law now? Probably. I would think.
Absolutely, absolutely it is, because I don't remember my dad being as worried about it when we were kids and teenagers as he is now. Like when we take the boat out to Okanagan Lake, if there's not a fitting life jacket for every person on that boat, he is not taking that person. And he never used to be like that. So maybe he's
Yeah.
gotten better with age, but that rarely happens, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I
And
just think it's a lot more strictly enforced now.
yeah. And I don't actually agree with this comment. Life jackets are a part of a gear that you take on and off a boat. Most people have their life jackets in like a cubby hole that's on their boat.
Yeah,
I think it's a two-way thing there, but most people leave their life jackets on their boats. I would,
depending
to
on the
me,
kind of boat. Like I said, my dad's is a
yeah,
16-foot boat and it's got storage under the seats and whatnot. And we've got
yeah,
life jackets like in storage spaces. But something like this was an open vessel. I only saw 1 or 2 actual seats in the boat. But like I
uh,
said, these kids weren't worried about taking life jackets with them. And that boat may not have had 6 life jackets. And even if they did, they're a
no,
bunch of drunk teenagers. They probably wouldn't have worn them. But my question is then, even if that boat was blown to smithereens, where are the life vests? Where is the debris
where's
from
anything? Yeah.
anything?
So that's so it to me this Bruce um Brickett's guy. So this is like a Boston whaler here. And in this case, and I mean, it could have been that their person took the life jackets off the boat. Um, you know, maybe it had a storage compartment that they kept in. Maybe there was a couple in there. Maybe there wasn't. Who knows? Either
There's
way,
a gas can there in the back of
yeah,
the boat.
yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that, I mean, if I had to guess, I would come up with the same conclusion that, there's no sign of them, these reported sightings type of thing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if I had to, of course, guess, I would think that they took the boat out, it capsized somehow, and they all ended up in the water, kind of like, cold water keeps bodies down. And, like that would be my guess, is that that's what happened, like more so than a drug trade or this or that, and that neither of them surfaced and they had their families and stuff like that. Like I don't see this as, there's 6 of them. If there's
Mhm.
6 of them, you can't see that as 6 of them just whoop, like, you know what, let's go be like like the children of the corn type of thing and go hide off on an island somewhere or whatever, and act like life doesn't exist. There's just no way. So the most plausible explanation to me is that everything that probably what seems strange is probably exactly what it is. But it's strange, but they probably all perished in the water. Is my
The boat was kept in the water at the boat launch. It sounds to me, I don't know because I've never been there, but it sounds to me it was probably the most convenient boat to take if they had taken the boat. And the boat, no, nothing ever turned up, CJK. There's some people like to say that that gas can for sure came from that boat. I like to say maybe possibly, but I think it's highly unlikely because of the way it was found. I don't think so. But I don't know. I've been wrong before. Boat drifted off and somebody grabbed it and stole it. That makes sense. Like if it did capsize and another boater happened to see it and grabbed it, like that would be pretty spectacular timing on that boater's behalf, seeing as how it would be in the middle of the night. It's just there's so many questions about it, and like I said at the beginning, I don't think we're ever going to be able to solve this, especially on a YouTube live stream with the information that's already out there. But I've really enjoyed seeing everybody's feedback and getting your ideas. And drug cartel, like the conspiracy side of my brain is leaning that way. Like there's something more to this than just, oh, they drowned and nothing ever surfaced. And that boat maybe was just, sold as a replica, and maybe it was just a regular fiberglass piece of junk fishing boat that sunk quickly and stayed, and everything was secured and nothing floated up. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe.
yeah.
These boards would be about probably in
Remember,
their,
it's a replica.
yeah, they would be in their 40s now. They're mid to late 40s now out back.
No, the boat didn't turn up. Yeah, again, it was a replica of a Boston whaler. It wasn't an actual Boston whaler, but it was. You know how it is. Designer knockoffs. Like I used to sell sunglasses. Designer knockoffs. 1 for 20 or 2. 1 for 13 or 2 for 20.
Yeah, but they're like, what made it a replica? These are the questions. And as for Bruce Ricketts having an agenda or nitpicking at things, I should say, this is kind of what people get ticked off at YouTubers or journalists for, because as investigative journalists, that's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to pick apart the information and see what else comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, he was doing a good job that nobody else was doing. And the family definitely wasn't paying him. They didn't ask him to do it. And that's where my comment about an agenda to write a book came in. But while he was doing that, he was also a private investigator, and he was doing good work for the right reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't knock this guy whatsoever because he was doing it free of charge for his own sense of wondering what the heck happened, and then reached out to the families and whatever, and again the Boyle family and stuff like that. So let me put it this way: if it was my darn family out there and somebody came along and wanted to, look into it and try to figure out answers, I'm all for that.
Absolutely.
But so it's one of those things. Yeah, we can pick apart all the different things, but that's really there's only a few kind of like logical answers. Like it could have been, drug trade, this to this, but they went on the boat, even though it was never shown that they went on the boat. But it makes sense that they did if one was reported, and it could have been that it was found and somebody, like the pirates of the sea there, go, oh, nobody on board this boat, sell it and not think anything about it, especially if they don't know that there's freaking dead people. And obviously someone wouldn't care. Like typically if you find a boat with nobody on it, you're going to report it, you would think, right? But if you're on the US side, maybe they don't give a shit on that side because it's from the Canadian side over here. Who knows? Do you feel like that they perished in the water, Charmaine, if you were just to go by the information?
I'm sorry, I don't.
No?
I can't wrap my head around not a stitch of clothing Nothing surfaced.
But
And
that was the
unless
same
it did, and it was just never reported. Like we're thinking, because there's debris in lakes and oceans all the time. Like who just disregards something or does a friendly environmental cleanup and throws an odd shoe away or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that could have happened, but for nothing to be found in the days immediately after
with 6 people,
with
right?
6 people, I mean, I said over the years, if something were to have surfaced and people were doing their cleanups and stuff, maybe things just got thrown away because it wasn't publicized enough that they were looking for stuff. Do you know what I'm saying there? Like maybe if they had made more noise, people would have
Yeah.
been more aware. Oh my gosh, here's a man's shoe or a pair of red jeans or, something. Maybe I should report this because those 6 boys are still missing. But there was nothing really like that.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think then happened if they didn't drown? If they all didn't perish in the water, what would you think then?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think the teacher aspect was looked into closely enough. Is that is a quick and easy way to explain away 6 mysterious disappearances. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm saying that I hope they looked into that and we're just not privy to that investigation.
I think they did a shit job at investigating.
I mean,
it.
every single case, like name one case that you can think of that we've covered so far that the police did a bang up job. I do have a couple, in my own docket that I'm doing on the podcast that the police seem to have done a pretty good job here in Canada.
Yeah.
Recently, but they're few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Outback. The answer to that question is no. According to Bruce, the U.S. there was like no reporting of it over there. You would think that there might have been because obviously the you know the gas tank was found on the U.S. side and stuff. You think that there would have been, but there wasn't. He said. I just think what I think is this. I think that they called off this sonar scan search for it. That within 36 hours or 36 hours after they deemed them as missing, that basically they just instantly came to the conclusion that this is what happened.
Yeah.
They capsized. They got hypothermia within like whatever it was, 6 to 7 minutes, I think it was, something like that. Died, and did it. And I don't think that a real investigative search, true search, was ever done. And I think that that's why they called off the contract, with it, because they probably thought that was a waste of money and
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely financial for sure.
Yeah,
financial reasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, the boat could be down there. Did capsize. But like I said, I don't feel like there was just a ton of effort put into this case. And that's why I think Kitty reached out to AW Adventures with Purpose, who does side sonar, scanning, and never heard back. So it really probably it's going to be like a mystery unless somebody comes across it at some point in their lifetime, that they ever come across and go, hey, look we found this Boston whaler down at the bottom of the lake here.
And that's the thing. Like usually if there's an accidental drowning or something and these boys were out, and I'm not saying they were asking for it, but that is a result of their own poor decisions. If they had proof of that, the investigation wouldn't be open and they still wouldn't be marked as missing, unsolved. If it was solved and they had proof that that's what happened, this would be case closed. But the fact is, it's not. They can't prove that they did drown. They can't prove that they didn't drown. So it remains a missing persons case, an unsolved mystery.
Well, at the end of the day, it's not the police's fault, but it's up to them to do their freaking due diligence. And if in 36 hours, in 36 hours, they pretty much opened and closed the case with, oh yeah, but we're still looking into leads if they come in. Type of thing. Like I said, there was supposed to be a side sonar scam. They canceled it. So that's not to me doing their due diligence. They just, I think, didn't want to put in the money resources to it. Figured this is what happened. 6 drunk boys get on a boat, capsizes, da 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 da, and that's the story. And that's what they basically went with. So I don't think that they did their job. Obviously, they called off of the contract. That's my personal thoughts.
And I never looked into this angle, but we could. Pickering is not that big of a place. So maybe the local police there were familiar with these boys, and maybe because we
They
know
were.
that they stole that tricycle the day before, maybe they were, you know, maybe they were fully aware of their shenanigans. And I'm not saying that's why they didn't look into
Yeah.
it, but I'm saying maybe that fed into the attitude towards, well, we tried to warn them, you keep up your shit, and eventually, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe that fed into the attitude. I don't know that for sure, but um, it's there has to be a reason that it wasn't looked into and that is still remaining unsolved to this day, and no movement, like no movement. The way the police didn't release anything. The way that I found it was a um, missing and murdered in Canada Facebook page just shared this story about 28 years and still no answers thing. And I was like, what's this? And I clicked on it. And because I saw 6 pictures, I was thinking possibly serial or something. And so I read it and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This didn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then, yeah, 36 hours was like the duration of the search and rescue.
Yeah.
And yeah, but other than that, that was it. Like I said, they called off the side sonar scan before it even got started on there. And you knew it was going to do the money. And like Charmaine said, it said in that article, like a few of them were known to the police already, that they were known for going down to the marina and taking vehicles even before that. Stealing boats or whatever before that. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things. I'm sure that they were just like I said, did 36 hours, whatever, came up
Mhm.
with, well, this is our best. We haven't got anything, but this is what we deemed has happened, because it is the most like logical thing,
It
right?
is. Yeah, absolutely it is.
It is. And like I said, it won't shock me if there's a Boston whaler replica at the bottom of this 801-foot deep lake, depending on, because again, 25 miles wouldn't get you to Wilson. It would get you, like I said, probably about like 3/4 of a way just by the
So do
mapping.
you think at the bottom of Lake Ontario there's the bodies of 6 teenage boys down there somehow trapped
Yeah.
on near that boat?
Based on cold water stuff from the Nicola Bully case, when I was looking into that, and how cold water works on bodies, very likely that they never floated to the top, because that's how the cold water works. I remember reading that with the Nicola Bully, because everything about Nicola Bully's case was the same thing, right? There's like what? There's no jacket floating, there's no hat, there's no sign ever, there's no this, there's no that, and then they were talking about cold water stuff, which made me look into it. So knowing this is way deeper than that little river, it's one of those things, is that as unreal as it sounds, it seems to me like the most logical thing that did happen, even though it goes against, say, this thing should probably have, floated, or something should have been found, a baseball cap or something. But
What was the submersible? They found debris of that bad boy, and that was deep, deep.
you,
The,
yeah, are you talking about the one where the guys blew up in there?
yeah,
Yeah, I know that one was crossing in my head there.
yeah.
um
That one even had debris.
yeah. But
Up,
that thing blew up, though. I mean,
yeah,
that thing literally blew up. But their bodies were at the bottom. They
I
were.
think were their bodies. I don't even think there were bodies left.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was.
Was there?
There was bodies. But they were like right at the bottom there. Um, that story's. I was just thinking about that story, actually. It's funny enough, because thinking about this sinking or whatever. I couldn't help but be reminded of that story there. You know, it's a very tragic story that happened on there, especially the mom that lost her husband and their child.
Yeah.
It's, just very sad one. But, you know, if you take risks, you know,
Yeah.
and they did, they all knew what they were signing up for. And, it's like anything. You go to the dentist, just sign here in case something does happen to you. We're not going to be held liable, and yet something could go wrong.
Yeah.
I've never been put under, and I'm always as scared to because I've never been put under. I always and it only because, Charmaine, there's one story that sticks in my head where a woman went under to have some sort of boob surgery or something like that, and the anesthesia killed her. Um, and for some reason, that story always stuck in my head, and I've never like as even when I should have been put under, I was like, nope, or I avoided the operation. In a sense, meaning not that I avoided it, but meaning I was like, oh, so I don't have to have the operation? Sweet, thanks. And so, yeah. So I just kind of avoided that stuff. It's like, no, give me the sleeping pills shit. I'll take that. Don't put me out. And it's only because I have a fear of that anesthesia shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny how, oh my God. Okay, I know I'm going off the story here, but that truck that was over the bridge, that semi that was hanging over the bridge, I saw it on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just popped up on my thing or whatever, right? So going from Vancouver to, of course, Calgary, right? And this is on like the number one back in the day when it was like the number one. But anyways, so I was on Facebook and there were some pictures on there. I don't know if any of you guys seen this, but anyways, it was in the United States, and it was this semi that was literally cab over, hanging off this bridge. And it was instant deja vu because when I was younger and we were traveling from BC, or I think we were coming from Calgary and going back to BC for vacation. And I remember that the road is windy. And I remember looking ahead because you could see it, that this semi turned over on its side in a sense, and the cab was hanging right over the like canyon of when you're driving and it's like real deep and
I know
whatever.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so the cab, that means like the guy is literally in the cab looking down at death, and so when I saw that truck that was hanging over the bridge, it was exactly virtually the same thing I saw. And maybe that's where I get my fear of car accidents from, or accidents, that because that one sticks in my head so badly, because all I could think about was this poor person that was trapped in that cab looking down at his life. And they rescued the guy from the bridge, the one that happened yesterday, I think in the States there, but from the cab, they had the cab part open and he was, rescued. But oh my God, like imagine the fear, like that you're in the cab looking down at death right in front of you, and you must be like he probably crapped his pants so bad.
Absolutely.
But as a child, when you see stuff like that, and like it just brings out those fears in certain things as you get older, different things. And so I always have this thing about accidents, car accidents or motorcycle accidents, because I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot of accidents. And so that's probably why I don't like to drive either. Because I have a driver's license, but you won't catch me driving. If I lived in Whitecourt, I would, but in Vancouver, you won't catch me behind the wheel. I'd be too busy going, no, fuck you, fuck both of you. Because people in Vancouver, way drive, they're like freaking maniacs. Like, right? Everyone's in a rush, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's honking at you or like, fingering you or something like that in a sense. And so I would probably get road rage so bad. I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I do. I get road rage, but I can control my driving and just be verbally rageful.
Yeah, so Mark's saying in a future episode, can you cover the highway tears? Because I think Sherman like I said, who knows more way about that, but that's like a hefty duty project.
Yeah, and like I've got a lot of research done because I am putting together a podcast series. You can't even call it an episode because there's
Thank
so much
you.
of them to do it any kind of justice. But just to maybe do a summary and synopsis, I guess, of what we're dealing with when we're talking about the Highway of Tears. That's probably, I mean, absolutely
Future
we could do
episode.
something like that, but to actually cover the Highway of Tears appropriately, to go through the victimology and all that kind of stuff. It's not just an episode, but we can definitely do like a summary just to give everybody kind of an overview, and then from there maybe dig into certain cases with a little bit more known information for future live streams. That's an idea. Highway
Yeah,
of Tears, I think, would be like a series. Like for my
yeah,
podcast,
that's more like a series. Yeah.
I'm going for probably about a 7-hour series for the podcast. So to put all of that in a live stream, we'd be here for a long time.
It's like one of Tom Webster's videos, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit much for me.
yeah. You know, catch me sitting through my own freaking lives that are ever that long ever. Well, let alone I barely ever watch a live back. Sometimes the odd time I might watch a couple moments just to look for something maybe that I was wanting to rehear or see. But other than that, once an episode's typically done, it's done. Then move on to the next things. But anyways, yeah, it's that one, the Highway of Tears one. I think it overwhelms me, and the reason why it overwhelms me is because throughout the week I'm working on other stuff, you know, and then so it's like that's not like a small feat. The Highway of Tears, you know, my energy gets drained very fast as I get older. It's honestly, I think it's just because I watch so much shit too. You just get mentally exhausted, you
do.
know. So when you're having to do things and watch things all the time, you know, and then you do lives, you know, and then like I said, Saturdays kind of like the dedicated day for that. Highway of Tears one, it just makes me tired thinking about it.
But like I said, I've got the bulk of my research done. So for me to kind of break down into a summary that we could talk about and go over some of the bigger cases in it, I think that's a good idea maybe for our next live stream.
Okay. So I'll sit here and look pretty, and I'll just be like, go ahead.
So I'll send you all stuff. You still have to read it, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I'll sit here and listen. Yeah. Other than that, you guys, I'm good. Are you good? I'm good.
No new developments whatsoever. But I think there's a lot of people, especially in the United States, a lot of people have heard about the Highway of Tears, but to actually look into and see what's the right word? It's not, I mean, it's discrimination, absolutely. But to see the societal differences that these women face and what led them to the lifestyles that they're living. I mean, there's a lot to it if you look into the victimology side of it, and that's the big outcry now is to, yes, they're missing, yes, they're murdered. We need to find the person responsible, but we also need to get the word out to these women. Stop hitchhiking, stop putting yourself in these situations. But then we have to ask ourselves, how are they going to remove themselves from these situations if they're homeless, if they're addicted to drugs, if they're prostituting themselves to make money to eat or to supply their habit. And I'm all for self accountability 100%, but there are aspects to the lifestyles that they live that I think is a societal problem that people in the Indigenous communities want us to talk about more. when it comes to cases like the Highway of Tears.
You're welcome, man. Yeah, very just interesting too. Yeah. Getting to watching the video yesterday. Mostly I just watched the video, to be honest, because I would rather usually watch something than read something. So I read a little bit, but I was just mostly listening to what Bruce Ricketts, because that's the guy that's been looking into it. So I figured, what the heck, And then when I went to watch Stephanie Harlow, I don't care. Still counts.
And that is excellent. Like I mean, some of the things that the U.S. has done, I think that Canada can take, some examples from. Start working a little bit harder to help at-risk teens and women, minority, whatever that means anymore. But there are things we can do, but the only thing we can do, and the reason why, like Sunny said, she's busy all week. She's always watching and looking into stuff. And I don't know if it's the same for Sunny, but for me, when you see there's a missing child or a missing woman or something, and you get on it and you start looking for information and posting stuff, and I'm sending stuff to Sunny and she's going live. It's not for clicks and views and the rest of that. It's because maybe possibly the right person will be watching, and maybe possibly we can help. We can get the word out.
Right.
We can do something that'll help, so and maybe it's just a delusional mindset that, we jump on these things thinking that we're going to help, but that's the purpose behind
But
it.
better than nobody doing anything, right? That's always my thing.
Right.
It's like, it's kind of like with anything. Something is better than nothing.
Yeah. And I used to like bug a little bit about the time of night that Sunny goes live with some of these stories, like Madeline. Everybody was live all day long, boo, 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 boo. And then Sunny goes on at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern time. And
10 o'clock.
To me, it was good because we were able to kind of wrap the entire day's coverage up, because we'd all been watching. So
I know. Shireen, sometimes it bugs me because sometimes I'm like, like we're the last ones, basically, like for the most part. Everyone else is before us.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like, shit, everyone's already listened to this all day. And then by that same token, how you just said, sometimes the information comes in throughout the day. And then, so it's kind of like, yeah, you typically by that time, the reason why we do it at 7 instead of 6, like we used to do, is really because of Aspen, like because of Adam. For me, I could care less if we did it at 5, 6, whatever, but it's because he used to, but when he's babysitting and then has to travel back to his, like from work and that to his parents' house, because before it was just to his apartment, which was 5 minutes away. So we do the 7 o'clock time distinctly because of Adam's hours of work and babysitting. Well, mostly the work for the most part, because that he has to travel.
I think
so
it's
kind of like that.
like we're just taking everything that we've watched and learned throughout the day,
Yeah.
and and that's what you guys do. You just kind of like put it all into a nice packet, talk about all the information that's come out during that day, and we're not missing anything. And I agree. The police contributed and still are, honestly. They still are contributing, and they're not doing enough.
Maybe Anne should come on a live. Hey, Anne. Anne's so knowledgeable over there. You should join us on a live, Anne. I mean, look she's taken up, instead of typing all that, you could just be talking.
Mm-hmm. I feel like she's either like super good and super quick with Google, or she's got a vast amount of knowledge in her head, and I would love to have her on to pick her brain about some of these cases. But,
I think it's both. I think she's very smart and bright, and I think that she uses Google.
And she thinks outside the box a lot.
Yeah.
I agree.
On there, but okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, gonna wrap this up. Gonna wait. Madeline Soto recovered in Judy Ron, that was so yesterday, dude. Okay, that was so yesterday. Everyone's like, this is where she's found now on there. But we knew that yesterday because we went live after. Well, mind you, there was the search going on. I don't have a face or voice talents of y'all. Listen to that. Lies, lies, lies. Okay, even if you say didn't have the face, I'm just kidding. You can't be burnt by not having a face or a voice. Yeah, no one gets double whammied like that, Anne. Anyways, some people just don't. Some people just like to sit and chat, and others, yeah, I get it. Um, but anyways, okay, we're gonna head off. I know that my husband's over at the Avid workshop right now, and he's working on. I think he said he was doing stuff to the vehicle, and then he said he was gonna work on that windmill thing. And lucky me, my husband wakes up this morning. He goes, "I got a cold sore," and I'm like, "What are you stressed about?" I know he's stressed in general, right? We're still waiting to hear from his brothers and stuff like that.
Right.
But fuck me when my husband gets a cold sore. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
I remember because I don't get cold sores at all, but my ex-husband got cold sores too. Do you suffer from cold sores? Who here suffers from cold sores?
I do get them if my lips get too chapped. I can
Okay.
get them.
Yeah, I never had. The only time it might look like I have a cold sore is if it gets dry in the corner and then I start picking, and because it's so sensitive there, that it can turn into what looks perhaps like a little bit like a cold sore, but it's not. But anyways, I
That's
remember
so
when
nice, Mr. Electric. Both
Huh?
of your friends.
I voted to both my friends that this is the best channel. Nope, not ever I had one. Yep. Okay. So my ex had them, and my husband now gets them, and they're rare, but they're enough to annoy me. Why? Because they pretty much last, I would say, a good week and a half to 2 weeks. And I love kissing. I feel like I'm just being like someone's hating me because I'll say to him like, usually if my husband like this morning when he's like, I got a cold sore, and I'm in my head, I'm just going, fuck, shit, fuck you, anyways, right? Because all I'm thinking is now I can't kiss you. So I remember when he first moved out, and from the stress, my husband will get a cold sore when he feels stressed. Um, and anyways, I remember we literally he had a cold sore, and we used Saran wrap and put it on his lips so that we could kiss, you know. And even now, it's like, I'm just like, well, what side's the cold sore? He's like, this side. And so I'm like, okay, well, kiss me on this side. But I love me and my husband, like, when you just love kissing, you snuggle and you love kissing. And then when it's taken away from you, you're just like, no. And he's like, so usually I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sakes. And he's like, well, imagine how I feel. I'm the one that has it. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah. But like, I'm suffering here too, because now I can't basically kiss you for a couple of weeks. And that's like painful. Like, seriously, because like, that's one of the things that you do at night. You snuggle, kiss, whatever.
So is a cold sore. A cold sore is painful. And all you're talking about kissing and stuff, I'm not disparaging you. Good for you. From memory, maybe it's great, but moving along.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I, they just piss me off. Fuck cold sores. They don't even know how they come about.
Bacteria.
Huh?
Herpes. The herpes.
Yeah, I know. Herpes. Sometimes I'll say that just for fun. Sonny, does he take medicine? He doesn't take medicine. If he has some, he'll put some of that crap, but he always says it's useless.
Abreva, I find, brings it out faster. Like the one time that I used Abreva when I first felt one coming, it got big and it stayed, and never again. I will never use it again. Never.
Yeah.
It's better than anything, and lemon juice, dry it out.
What'd you say? Lemon juice?
Lemon juice to dry it out, and then polysporin to make sure it doesn't scar and to
Yeah,
keep the infection. But yeah, they're the worst bacteria.
But yeah, I just, I'm glad I don't get them myself because, you know. One time, Charmaine, he actually had two side by side.
I've had
It was
5 at one time before.
really.
Oh, it was brutal. I called in
Oh,
sick for work and everything. I didn't leave
I,
my house.
I was gonna say, I bet you didn't show you. Like, I'm sorry, but I have this thing too. Like, don't you know what I mean? Like, you don't fuck with the face
Mhm.
because it's like the biggest thing ever. You know,
I
like the
don't.
face.
I don't mind. Like if I got a zit or something, and I go out like without makeup, whatever. I don't brush my hair. I don't care. But if I have a big cold
Oh,
sore on my face and like 5 of them, you
yeah.
won't see me. You won't see me just because I don't want to explain to you what happened to my face. Because the fact is, I don't know what happened to my face. My lips got chapped, and here I am.
I was gonna say, are cold sores contagious? I know that they are.
You know,
And
very contagious they are.
yeah, hold on. Let's see here. The cold sores are the most contagious when they burst rupture, but remain contagious until they are completely healed. Avoid close contact with others until your cold sore has completely healed and disappeared. However, there's no need to stay away from work or miss school.
If you have 5 of them on your lips, yes.
Can you kiss someone with a cold sore and not get it? The Mayo Clinic notes that cold sores are the most contagious when oozing blisters are present, but you can still transmit the virus even if there's no active sore. Ooh.
Blisters. That's all you need to know about what it feels like to have a cold sore. Oozing blisters on your mouth. It's the worst. It's the
Mm.
worst. So
Hold on.
Lacey's got some medication for
Yeah,
this.
I'm gonna screenshot that, Lacey. And anyways, Lacey, how are you doing? Are you doing better than you were the other night? I hope. Sounds like you are. Uh, that's quite the name, Valley Clova. Okay, Valak. I'll next time I go to the doctor, I'll write that down somewhere on my or phone or something like that, and because that's quite the name to remember, Valacyclover. Um, and it takes as soon as you feel it coming on and goes away in a couple of days. Okay, well I'll try to remember that next time that we're at the doctor's for a prescription of that on file. Um, because honestly, like uh, I mean, he doesn't get them that often. Like I said, I would say he gets one once every like 6 months. I would.
No, it's not like that, Boston Beauty. No, they have to have the sore, and they're most contagious when the sore is an oozing blister. But until it's completely healed, you shouldn't be coming into contact with that. But no, like just because you're a carrier of that virus, like anybody who gets a cold sore has that virus in them. They can't just give it to
Yeah,
anybody ever. You have to have a lesion like a sore.
yeah. So when it said even if there's no active cold sore, it was basically saying like, like yeah, it pusses and oozes, and then it starts to heal in a sense.
It
But yeah,
scabs over, but it's still contagious until it's completely healed.
yeah. It's yeah. They suck.
It's the
I
worst
mean,
thing ever.
like I said, I don't suffer from them, but I'm glad I don't. I just suffer the wrath of not being able to kiss my husband too well. But I still, I've done it. I've never. There's a couple times where at top of my lip, I'll feel like the very rarely, but it's happened where I feel like some sort of blisters coming on, and then it just goes away. And I'm always thinking, is that a cold sore ever trying to come out? Because I've kissed my ex-husband when he's had a cold sore, because sometimes when you're just in the moment, you're just like, fuck it, YOLO, right? Type of thing. I think the virus can stay dormant and then stuff up like winter sunburn can cause a flare up. Yeah. I remember reading about cold sores, and
Yeah.
they said they actually have no idea what cause, like, okay, so they know stress and certain things like Anne like, can, bring them up, but they're not actually sure. They said when I was reading it, they're not actually sure like what actually is bearing them. And then all of a sudden, poof, there they come up. I don't know how else to explain that in medical terms, but it was almost like something sitting there dormant, and then all of a sudden, surprise, here I am. But they had
It's like I
no.
said, the chapped lips, or if I have a fever, I know that pretty much anytime I get sick, if it's accompanied by a fever, I know I'm going to get a cold sore. It's just when bacteria gets in, the chapped lips cracks. I think it just,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know, it's terrible.
and
I always have some kind of chapstick or something.
yeah, I know, I hate it when my lips are dry. And I'm Boston Beauty by KK. So I used to work in cosmetics for like 7 years. Totally get that. And I didn't work at one of the brand counters. Like I had Revlon in my area, the big Revlon gondola, and people just come and they don't give a shit, man. They just put on that lipstick, those testers. They don't give a shit if somebody had herpes or anything. Because normally, we would give them a tissue to wipe it down. Almost like when somebody drinks out of a water bottle, you wipe it. So we would kind of do the same thing with lipsticks after somebody used one and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes people have no concept of anything, you
You
know.
put it on the back of your hand like a civilized human. Like that's just gross.
Yeah, but some people just come in, like seriously, just to whip it on, or there's some people that sit there and, like I said, just come in. They try on about like freaking 12 different lipsticks. Their freaking face, their lips have changed a whole different color. Trying to find that right color. Because I mean, if there's one thing that's annoying about lipstick when there's no tester, is when you look at the stupid coloring of the lipstick, and
Totally.
then yeah, and then you get it home and it looks nothing like that color that you just chose. It's
Yeah.
either way darker or totally off of what you picked, because I hate that when you, especially from lines, like meaning, like when you go into like a Shoppers or London Drugs or whatever, and it's just the tube and you got to grab it and there's no tester and you're just taking your chance that you just spent, because I don't care. I used to get free shit all the time working in the cosmetics, but spending like 8, $11 on a lipstick, you
You're
know,
lucky to spend that now. You're looking at 20, 25.
I'm talking about from the cheap lines now. I mean, I only buy lip gloss. I never buy lipstick. And the lip gloss, if it has any coloring, it's because it's tinted. Like the one I have like right now is like a pink one. It has a little bit of whatever. But I just because I just don't like my lips being chapped. Like I like yesterday, for instance, or no, the day that we went to Costco, um, I was like licking my lips, and I was like, I'm sure there's freaking lip gloss in this vehicle somewhere, but it bugs me because I hate dry lips.
Yeah.
So I always have usually gloss somewhere around.
Yeah.
or they will come in and say how they have COVID and apply the lipstick right on and pass it to a friend to put it like.
Stupid. Why are people stupid?
Well, it's just I mean, I think it's one of those things that are like probably back when I was in cosmetics, which would have been in like the 90s area. Yeah. It was like, you just people just did shit like that. Like you didn't really think of it. Nowadays there's a lot more awareness to, transmissions, I think, like that as well. You know.
You know what
Um,
I'm really bad for? Perfume counters. Even at my age, I will embarrassingly spray so many different perfumes on me just to see if I like them. But by the time I'm done, I can't even
yeah.
tell the difference.
Well, and that's why you have coffee beans. You have to fucking whiff those coffee beans to try to get some scent back into your nose, because because people spray them on their thing.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest with you, when I was working in cosmetics, I think it was about the final year, maybe the year and a half before I had left, and that's when I left Dion and moved back to BC. But anyways, um, exclamation.
Mm.
People would come in there and then they would spray it because it was right beside the counter. And I used to get nasty headaches because after a while, just the scent got to me, because the fragrance counter was there, but the fragrance counter was down in the middle of our cosmetics because I worked in the downtown store in Calgary. And so, it was a big cosmetics area, but I worked in the back kind of corner there. and we had like Gloria Vanderbilt and exclamation, just kind of like I don't know what the reasoning was for. It was just kind of like I had like the Revlon lines there and some brands that were kind of like not big, and so I just kind of got like some older fashioned one like Chantilly lace and shit like that. But
Okay.
anyways, but exclamation, it would give me a fucking wicked headache. And these teenagers would come in all the time, squirt, 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 like all the time, walk by, and I'd instantly get a headache.
That would
And
be,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, best thing about working in cosmetics, though, like I said, I had the best boss ever. Like her name was Ray Gerard, beautiful, wonderful lady. I knew my shit, and she knew it, and everyone always came to me for answers all the time. I loved it. It made me feel like that's because you guys are all fucking lazy. And literally, this is when they'd come to me and say, Sonny, what's the UPC on this number? And I'd sit there and go 059666321, you know? And I'm the one that usually already knew how to work those machines too, because they're too busy standing behind the counter, most of them, just with that look all day, just standing there. It's either that or they were sitting in the chairs, you know. But when they got a sale, they got a sale, But I worked the freaking hardest in that cosmetic thing. Mine required a lot of work and a lot of time, but I enjoy it, loved it. But the best part was getting all that free perfumes and makeup, and oh my god, like I had that shit coming out of my yin yang. It was awesome. We get gift bonuses and all that stuff, and it was great, great. That's when I said, like I said, seen Don Cherry down there, Lanny
Right.
McDonald, you
Very
know. But yeah,
Retiring Mika Kiprusoff's jersey tonight. I don't care. I don't know if anybody cares, but he's a legendary NHL goalie. It's going to be a good ceremony. Looking forward to that
wait, when is that tonight?
tonight. Yeah,
Wait, on TV?
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. On there by yourself?
Yeah. Well, with my dogs. With the
Oh,
dogs.
okay. Okay.
I might have a lunch date tomorrow, but I don't know yet.
Dogs from other brands. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys, it's been a slice. Nice having a little bit of side chat with you on there. Makeup herpes. Oh, and I'll just say this. When I had to buy Lancome, not Lancome, Estee Lauder, whatever voluptuous mascara, it was $19, okay? Back in the 90s.
No,
That's
Tetron. No.
no, yeah, that same mascara is 40 fucking bucks.
Oh, I know.
$40 for a fucking mascara. $40. Fuck you, Estee Lauder, on that one. So sorry. I mean, if you want to promote us on this channel, feel free. But 40 effing bucks. Anyways, and I can only find my makeup. Well, I could find it in the States, but I had got some back when I was in England, but I'm all out now. When I was there 4 years ago, I bought 2 of my camouflage makeup. That was, you guys want to look like your fucking flawless faces? You buy that Estee Lauder camouflage makeup,
What I don't understand, and absolutely no shades to women who do this, but these young, beautiful girls putting layer after layer after
Oh, yeah.
layer of
Yeah.
makeup on, it blows my mind. They look like a completely different person where their natural face is so gorgeous. And
I
now,
know. Yeah.
and I just can't help but wonder, how do you maintain that? Like with your first sleepover, say, do you get up really
I get
early
it.
and put your face
Yeah.
on really quickly, or is there enough stuff? Because I've never tried. Is there enough stuff and setting spray on that it just lasts all night? Like, how do you kind of present yourself,
2
your authentic
hours.
self
Yeah.
to a potential spouse? I don't understand it. Like, I put on mascara and lip stain. That's it.
To me, I mean, there's like, for me, I like because of working in cosmetics, I didn't really like makeup before then, but when I worked in cosmetics, it was kind of fun because you got to play with all the different products, and over time, so yeah, you did your makeup up nice and whatever, but nowadays you see these freaking black freaking eye cat things coming off their eye, these humongous eyelashes coming off their face, and where they look like they're just freaking caked in makeup. And that's the times that I say to myself, haha, because there was a girl I worked with at Great Glasses, Megan, and she had fake hair, you know, type of thing. Her hair was probably only this long, but she had it longer than mine. And she had fake eyelashes, fucking Botox lips and shit. And all I could keep going is, like that to me is like false advertisement for
It is, and it has to, and it has to stem from low
like,
self-esteem. Like, what is wrong with your authentic self, and how are you going to maintain that? Because it sounds shallow or whatever, but when you meet somebody, you're usually attracted to them physically, and if that's not who you actually are, without so much work, and you don't even need all that work. Back in the 80s, pink and blue eyeshadow was the thing, right? So we used to play and put too much on. It is what it is. Kids will be kids. But now it's like even women my age are just so, I got to get rid of these fine lines and wrinkles. Whereas why do you have to do that? What are we worried about? We're 50 years old. We should be proud of our wrinkles. And
I actually could care less about that shit myself. Like,
yeah.
I never, even in cosmetics, I didn't give a shit about fucking no nighttime mask, daytime mask, cleanser.
I'm a big fan of moisturizing, but the best day of my life was when I decided to throw away the foundation, like over it.
I'm not over the foundation, no, but I don't wear like I typically like don't wear makeup at all when I go out, like I used to in cosmetics and stuff like that. Now, like I do and I don't. Depends. I know I usually put on a thin layer of makeup, like foundation, and then I might just touch up, like put a little bit of black eyeliner or whatever on my eyebrows, just because to me, like they're not exactly dark.
I would like to talk to Boston Beauty and get her insight on, because I watched my daughter. She got married and she paid a makeup artist to come and put her face on, and she looked absolutely stunning, but she's absolutely stunning without it. But it's like, okay, so you get a primer, and then you get a layer, and then you get setting spray, and then you get a layer, and then you get setting spray, and then powder, blah, 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 blah.
That's a bit much. Yeah.
On a 20-something-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And then fake eyelashes and, big fake, not fake, but filled in eyebrows. And
like nowadays it's a lot further, like with this whole microblading and tattooing and shit like that. But for me, and I agree with Boston, so being creative, and I was not a big makeup person before working in cosmetics at all, but it was but yeah, I mean, like for instance, when you have makeup on, and most women feel this way, you all of a sudden, instead of feeling kind of more drab with your own natural beauty, because not everyone does have natural beauty in a sense, like they do, but most people would rather
feel better about themselves.
Feel better. Yeah. And so when my makeup's done up and my hair's done up, I'm like, get out of the fucking way, I'm coming, here comes Sunny, type of thing. Because you do feel more confident in a sense. And then when you take it off, then you kind of feel like uglier. And that's just a mindset, really. But in saying that, I'll agree, because like I said, there's the makeup artist, and I had like to teach myself in a sense how to, like put on makeup, and I would watch the other girls do it and stuff like that, because I didn't work on one of the brands, but I'd watch them do it, or sometimes they'd do makeovers on me. And so so you would just go like, oh, like let me take my 3 colors and whatever and create the little cat eye look, and stuff I never went overboard with it, but I definitely loved the camouflage makeup back in the day, because everyone thought I had this flawless skin, and I was like, let me take my makeup off, because you would not be saying that if I took my makeup off, because it hid blemishes. You would never, like, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, how are you saying that? Like, I have oily skin. my skin blemishes. I was always constantly having, is it here, there, is there, but you would never tell with that makeup on for some reason. And it was a very sheer makeup. It wasn't like it was heavy. It was sheer. But it was one of those things that when you had your picture taken, because of the light reflectors in it, you almost looked like a ghost. Because when the light camera like would shine at you, I'd look like I was freaking like, you know how when Chinese females put on light makeup, because they would always come in and buy light makeup that's lighter to their skin, because they said, and I would like literally ask, why are you buying like 3 shades lighter than what your skin tone is? And they'd say, because in China, you're someone that has more of the browner skin, a tanned or whatever, is deemed as a farmer working, and you were deemed as poor, versus if you have light skin, then you're deemed as that you have money type of thing. So because I would always be shocked that they would have a certain color of skin, and they would literally put on this makeup that literally made them look like they were white pretty much. And I'd be like, I don't get it. But once I asked, then I understood, you
Yeah.
know, to the
And
reason.
I totally understand what Boston Beauty is saying about like weddings and photo shoots and stuff, but I don't understand these girls on TikTok who are gorgeous. That just, and I mean, I don't know if they're doing it day by day. I don't know if this is their daily routine. And just really quickly, I completely agree with you about Taylor Swift. However, at this point in my life, I'm thankful that I've recently found Taylor Swift music, because if that train wreck can find her guy and be happy like she seems to be, then there's still hope for me. So I'm not going to disparage Taylor Swift all the way to she is a train wreck and she seems to be happy. So I have to think that that's still possible for me. Did you know though, Boston Beauty and Sunny, did you know that girls, they're shaving their eyebrows, bicking their eyebrows, and then drawing them on. Did you know this? I didn't know
Well,
this. I thought they were filling in what they had, but no, they're bicking.
yeah,
Blows.
no, I
Wow.
know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I was just recently, Charmaine, watching this girl that had gotten her eyebrows, whatever, microbladed, because she had kind of like I'll say that they were kind of like mine, maybe a little less hair there. So, anyways, so she goes in, and to get, her eyebrows, not whatever you want to call it. Is it called microblading? Anyways, to get them bushier. Okay. If you took a fucking pencil and drew it, and that's it, like you just drew a line like a thin pen.
Mhm.
Hey, so these eyebrows were ridiculous. They look so freaking unnatural and so stupid. It was like
A
someone
lot of
taking
them
a.
do.
Okay, she literally had 2 eyebrows because the lady fucked up so bad that she literally had double
Oh, I
eyebrows.
saw that. Oh, I saw that. I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
terrible.
Type of, like I'm not into that. Like, I mean, I'm willing to grow old gracefully, and like I said,
Semi-gracefully.
but in saying that, I do have I always did have fun. Get myself ready. It would take me about an hour and 45 minutes, start to finish, showering, blow drying hair, doing hair. Usually I'd say a good 45 minutes went to my hair. You know, uh, Makeup probably more like 15 minutes. And then the rest was usually to my hair, because I would always cringe it or braid it or whatever to it. So I always dedicated 2 hours. I worked at 8:30. I got up at 6 o'clock. Mr. Oliver.
Lucy, don't ruin my life with how do we know? We don't,
I
but I
shave
have to.
around my eyebrows with an eyebrow shaver. The only thing I've ever done is pluck my eyebrows.
Yeah, same. I have a home wax now. I can wax, and
Oh, yeah.
it's never
I
fun and it's never pretty, but I do it because I can't. I don't have the attention anymore to individually pluck.
I was gonna say, I've only ever had my eyebrows waxed once, and I did it just for the sake of doing it, just once. And it was
Why are
good.
you using retinol?
What can we do with 10 years?
Where are their parents?
Thing right
I
now.
see TikToks. It's even a thing where little 10, 11, 12-year-olds are going to Sephora and buying makeup. Why?
Yeah.
Why? And why? I'm not judging parents at all, but just why? Why are we making that okay for our little girls to
I
think?
know, right?
I do too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I dye my eyebrows the
Do
same
you
color
really?
as my hair. I don't even care.
Do you use hair color?
I do, and I don't care. Tell me it's bad for me. I don't care. Go ahead. Tell me. I've been doing it. I've been doing it. Even when my hair was blonde, I've been doing it because, to be honest with you, my eyebrows are white. They're turning white. I am 50 years old almost. They're turning white. So I have no.
I've never done that. I've wanted to, but I was scared.
You don't leave it on for as long as you would your hair color.
No.
I have a special brush that I use, so I'm literally
Yeah.
brushing it onto my existing eyebrow hair, and
Yeah.
like 10 minutes tops, and I take it off. And it
Yeah.
lasts like a solid week.
I've never even had a bikini wax in my life ever. Have you?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, good for women that are, confident enough to go in and have a Brazilian done or something, but no, thank you. I'm good.
Never. Thanks.
Take
I
care
mean,
of my own stuff. Like I tried one time to wax my underarm.
underpants?
Holy shit. That hurt beyond. I'll never do that again. Never. Never. So I shave, and I wax.
Well, as you get older, you ever get those freaking ass chin hairs?
I have tweezers on me at all times, and I just pluck this.
Yeah.
Actually, my fidget spinner.
Yeah. Fidget spinner. My husband. I remember saying to my husband, because there was only ever like something like three little tiny hairs that would come out kind of like here. Well, that's turned into a fucking Amazon forest now because over the time that we've been together, he's plucked, and plucked. And then it's kind of like, honey, my beard's getting a little bit more bristlier than yours, but it's because, when you pluck hairs that you shouldn't, then they grow back. And so, anyways, I blame him for that. So it's always like, usually every third night, it's like, honey, can you please pluck my beard? And actually, I'm not going to lie, Charmaine, besides popping zits, besides like watching a zit pop, I love the feeling of a hair coming through the skin when you're like when he's like he does it. He's like, because he got this like flashlight out right on his phone, and he's just like, I know this is probably TMI. Who cares? I don't care. Anyways, but when that hair comes out of the skin, you can just almost feel it like a little tube coming out, and it's like, ooh, that's a good one. That was a good one. But I said one time I was gonna like wax just for the sake of it, or what? No, it was one of those machines where you can kind of like get rid of it permanently. It's like, no. I like tweezing them. So I only ever left him just so that he could do it. But anyways, so I have to say that for me, that's like therapeutic, Honey, it's time to pluck my beard. Thanks.
Not way back, but they came out with that no.
Oh no. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I used that for a long time. I used that, and it worked. It worked really well, and it took a long time for the whiskers to start kind of randomly coming back.
The whiskers, yeah, we'll call them whiskers, eh?
And now I can feel if they're
Right.
coming out, and I always have tweezers, and I just pluck them.
Yeah, on there. I can't say like, I mean, sometimes my husband says to me, like I use his razor when I actually shave my underbits because it gets it nice and close.
Men's razors are superior.
Yeah, so I just use his. It's like gone, Oh, let's see. I could have braided that, but let me just take that off of there. But I can't say that I've overly been into like that part of it. Like besides playing with makeup and having fun with it and like the hair, like I always loved my hair. I always loved the fact that I could kind of do whatever I wanted with it because it was straight, right? Whereas my twin had naturally wavy hair, whereas me, I could have wavy, I could have straight, I could have whatever. But I always had nice hair. I don't care if I'm gloating on this one because I do. I always loved my hair. No, I wouldn't say I loved it. I would say that I was like I 80% loved my hair, but it's kind of one of those things. Like I said, besides with that, when it came to like the whole feminine and other shit, I just could have cared less. I've never had my nails done professionally. I've
Me
never
either.
had fake nails on my fingers ever.
Me either.
I've just never been that type of girly girl myself,
Yeah.
where I was waxing the VJ or, whatever. Just, as long as I was good and fresh to go type of
Mhm.
thing. I was, like just your basic upkeep shit. I wasn't into all these different things, massage. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even know what threading is, Lacey.
Threading.
Gambler, we're going to need a little bit more information on that.
Can see sucking toes but not tweezing whiskers.
Sucking
Ew.
toes?
Ew. You just turned me off right now, little
Are you
guy.
okay today, little gambler? Little buddy? You good?
I'm just proud that if I ask my husband to dye my hair because maybe I just like having my head massaged by my husband, like when I go to a haircut, don't you guys love that? Like that to me is like therapy. Or it's gonna take 4 hours to do your hair. Absolutely, got time. Thank you.
Mhm.
I enjoy shit like that. It's like the simplest things. But sucking toes, yeah, my husband will paint my toes you know, that's what I
I
love
could
that.
never justify paying somebody a
I
hundred
know.
and $200 to dye my hair, or $100 to do my makeup, or $100 for fake
It's
nails. I
very
can't
rare.
justify that.
It's very rare whenever I'm feeling I haven't had my hair done professionally in the probably 4 years. And normally I'd spend $100, $120, type of thing and get yeah, which I'm gonna do at some point again. I would have highlights, but my hair they always are like $150, 20, $50 easily.
See, I could never. I
I
could
know.
never.
I do you know what it was the few times that I've splurged on it, and I would say that there's probably been about 10 times in my life that I've splurged on, back in the day a perm, like a spiral perm, or highlights, you know. I mean, yeah, I can buy that kit and pull the shit through, but yeah. Miss Dog Lover says thanks for the 4.99 super chat, Miss Dog Lover. Oh, there goes it. I should have something to drink tonight. £4.99. Thank you. Oh yes. Waxing is best for me. One time I shaved my intimate area and when it's starting to grow back, it is so bad I near lost it in the supermarket. Smiley face. I can relate to that. I can relate to that because I've done that. And when that little fucker starts coming back in those hairs, oh my God, you're starting to itch. Oh, so badly. Oh, I can, you're making me actually go to that moment where I feel like I want to itch now because I remember doing that a couple times, and yeah, when it comes back in, not pretty, itchy as frick. I remember that like
I
it was
also have pretty toes. I don't know that I would admit to sucking on them, even if I was flexible enough. I don't know. I'd rather admit to waxing my eyebrows.
um, Outback says I'm dyeing my hair now. 25-minute box. That's typically what I
Hell
buy.
yeah.
Which one do you buy, Shaman? I buy the L'Oreal triple highlights. That's my.
Whatever is on sale, Sonny. Like, I
Oh
am
really?
frugal as fuck. You guys have absolutely no idea how cheap this girl is. Absolutely.
Is it
I will dye
different?
my hair twice a month for all I care. If I get a box kit for $6 and it's my shade, you're coming home with me.
I was gonna say, like, I like the triple highlight one ever since it came out, and like we were in Shoppers the other day, and it wasn't quite husband's payday or whatever, and we needed to get a few things for the house, and I was like, and I seen my hair color, and because I can see it, right, the grays are coming through. Anyways, and I'm looking at it, and it's like 11.99, and they charge like 17.99 at Shoppers, and I'm like, honey, but it's on sale for 11.99, and it's like sorry, honey, not today. We're here for other things. We can't afford that, whatever, too, right? And then I think the next day, was it the next day? He was out buying some wood for his windmill thing, and I'm like, couldn't afford my freaking hair dye, could you? You know, that was somehow not important. But when I seen it for $11.99, I was just like, shit, like seriously, because that $11.99 and nowadays is a good price for that. Now
Oh, it absolutely is.
it used to be $11.99 normally
Mhm.
at Walmart. You know, it was a normal price, but like everything else, it just keeps creeping up in pricing. And now, like I said, they act like the normal price is $17.99. So I typically to buy it when it's on sale, but usually when I go to Walmart, um, like sometimes I'll buy 2 boxes just because I know I'm going to need the other one, and I might as well. You know, I don't like doing Walmart trips, so when I see it and it is on sale, then you know. But that's my go-to is the triple highlight one. I don't just randomly pick ones.
Oh, there's only a couple of brands that have my shade of reddish brown because I'm trying to
Mm,
keep it as close to my natural as I can
mm,
since I left blonde behind. Because my natural color is quite a bit lighter than this, but it is reddish brown. But they don't. I'm scared to try a light auburn, so it's either nice and easy, and I can't remember the other one, but I can use nice and easy is usually about $14 a box. But the other one is usually like you get it on sale for like $6.99. I'm like, hell yeah, you coming home with me? It's fine.
um, and so just wondering, you can tell me to buzz off, but why is husband building a windmill? Well, husband built a planter, a really nice planter, um, the other, I don't know, a couple months ago. And he loves playing with wood. And he's always got these ideas that are going through his head. Anyways, whatever, I don't even know what he saw, but he happened to see this windmill and he's like, I can make that. I can make that. And obviously he must like windmills or something. Anyways, so his goal is, and he's had a few of these goals, don't get me wrong, that he's going to make it and then sell it and see if somebody buys it because he's going to make it better. He's going to do this and that, whatever. Anyways, so don't know. Like it must have just been something that he's seen. Like I love windmills myself. I think that they're cool. So when he showed it to me, you know, or like it's like, yeah, nice windmill, you know. Um, so it's just a random thing. Husband always keeps thinking he's going to start some sort of wood business where he's going to create stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, my husband could in a minute, but his business ideas they change every other freaking week on what he's going to do. It started off with cutting boards, and I got that cutting board. He makes the cat house. Right, we got one cutting board, one cat
Let's
house.
put it on like
One
Facebook
cat.
Marketplace.
Well, he did, but and he put it at first. He put it on there for 200 because you couldn't buy a planter like that if you tried, you know, from a regular store. But whatever. But people obviously cheap ass on Facebook Marketplace. He put it down to 150. He had a lot of looks, but nobody actually purchasing. And then the people that did send a message were like, "Can you make a 5 foot one or a 6 foot one?" My husband's like, like, no, I'm selling this one. This is what I'm selling. And then, so anyways, so he took it off the other day. I'm just like, I don't care. We'll fucking go buy some carrots and freaking whatever. We'll plant our own garden in it. And he's like, no, I'll put it back on later. But the thing is that at the end of the day, because even where he works, which is avid contracting, it's not like you get special deals on wood. You know, like what Steve goes in and buys the wood for is the same that he would purchase it, even if it was for Avid. It's not like there's like 20% off or anything like that. So, anyways, when he works it out, it cost him about $65, $70 to make that planter. And that's not including time. That's just the price. So, you know, it's one of those things, right? Is that, you know, you have to distinguish how much of your time is worth money. But anyways, so I don't remember if you put it to 125. Bottom line is that it like unless you're doing it just for a side fun thing, you know, because people always want something for dirt cheap, no matter what, you know, like, and this is custom, right? So it's custom. So it's just a matter of, if people are willing to spend a little bit more to have a custom made planter. So, anyways, bottom line is he's going to make this windmill. I can guarantee you, I'll be the new owner of a windmill at some point soon.
Well,
Because
you don't know that because spring is coming and people are going to start,
maybe
wanting to beautify their yards and stuff. Like it might be the right time to post it.
yeah, like I just it's just so funny that when my husband's like, so this is my idea. I think I'm gonna make. I think he said something like a bed frame at first. I'm like, bed frame? Seriously? Like, where the fuck did you get that idea? Bed frame. Okay. Then it turned into a coffee table type of thing, and I'm like, where the fuck are you coming up with this shit? Like seriously, like because when you're living with someone that every other week they're changing, like it's so hilarious listening to him and Ryan when they sit back and they're like, when people want to become these fucking amazing millionaires somehow, and yet all they do is talk about it. Well, my husband, like I said, if I've never seen him make more than one thing of anything he's ever made, but it's like every other week, it's like, oh, but you know what? I saw these fucking windmills on the thing, and I can make one better, and people are gonna like it, and we'll see if they sell and stuff. All right, baby. Now I'm just like, and one time he actually gave me attitude back when I was like, really? A coffee table? And I was like, and I started laughing because I was like, what next week? Like, what are you going to come up with me next week? And he's just like, fine, if you don't believe in, like, he was actually like legitimately getting upset at me. And I'm just like, but how do you think I feel? Every other week, you guys are telling me a new frickin', Fortune 500 thing that you're going to do to make some extra money and stuff like that. And I never get more than one product. And wood is expensive because you have to buy it. Like for outside wood, you use cedar, right? Obviously, because bugs don't like cedar and shit like that. And, it doesn't rot. So, but yeah, so wood is expensive. I mean, just buying a regular, when we were at Home Depot for the planter, just that regular, like, long plywood stick, in a sense, $24 for one piece of an 8-foot, I think it was 8-foot, piece of plywood there. Well, not plywood, obviously cedar. But yeah, like $24, Yeah. So anyway, but the thing is that, like, I love the fact that my husband, like he'll play on the computer all the time. And then all of a sudden he'll have these random days where he's like today, where he's like, sick and tired of sitting on the computer. I need to get out and do something. I think I'm going to go to the shop and do the vehicle and do this. And I think I'm going to work on that, whatever thing. Okay. Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. Like I would be with him right now, to be honest with you. But the thing is, okay, one time I hate it when people think for me, because when I was there, like last time, last time wasn't so bad when I was there with the windmill. But there was a time before that. And all he has it in his head is that because I'm just sitting there for the most part watching him cut wood, he's like, looks like you're bored. This is why basically he was telling me this is why I kind of just like going off on my own and doing something because, I'm feeling rushed. At no point was I making him feel rushed or anything. I was just sitting there enjoying myself. But it's funny how he thinks because I'm just sitting there that somehow I must be bored, and it's creating him to have anxiety and feel rushed. And I'm like, but that's on you. Like, what the heck am I doing? I'm just sitting here enjoying myself. I'm with my husband. I'm sitting there, whatever. But yeah, so I was just like, where did this a-hole come from? That way. Because I hate it when people think for me. If I'm bored, I'll tell you I'm bored. But so when he made that one comment last week, I was like, don't even go there. You just mind yourself what you're doing, and I'll mind myself what I'm doing, okay? But it's almost like when he goes off by himself to do it, then of course it's like, he's just there doing his thing. But it's almost like he's too busy worried about what I'm thinking. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, like I said, just let me be. I'm fine. I'm sitting here with my coffee and whatever, my vape, and you're cutting the wood, and I'm just with my husband enjoying the time. Yeah, I hate it when people think for me like that.
Yeah, but it's, it's his perception, and he has a guilty
Yeah,
conscious about you just sitting there doing nothing,
yeah,
maybe. And sometimes it is good to have time away. And I don't consider being at work having time away from your spouse,
yeah.
because you're there,
No,
you're working. Sometimes it's good to have a hobby that takes
yeah,
you out of work, takes you out of the home, and it refreshes you kind of. It's no slight on the spouse that you want to be away from them.
yeah.
I think it's healthy.
Well, I was gonna say like today when he said like so typically I was like instantly when he's because he came in the bedroom and I was like we were about to do our live and I was like and he goes yeah, I think I'm gonna go over to the shop and I'm gonna um because he's for some reason he set off not set it off but the light comes on our vehicle for the airbag on the passenger side. So it must have been when he was cleaning that he set it off. So then he said that he was going to do this other thing, and then he said it was going to work on the windmill and whatever. But like today, it was kind of one of those things. Like normally, I'd be like, "Oh, I'll come with you," type of thing if you want. I'm sure he would have said, "Okay, if you want to," um, but today I was like, well, I knew I was doing the live, so I was just like, okay, well, because everyone does need that little bit of time to themselves, and I
Yeah,
think today is like I said, like yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have said no for me going, but sometimes, yeah, some people just need their own little space because I mean besides him working, we're always around each other,
that's right,
you know,
exactly. And work is not a break. And
yeah. So it's just one of those things. I think everyone needs that little bit of time. Just like today, I just felt like he needed
yeah,
um just to go by himself, no time clock on him, no
that's
feeling the pressure of me being there, thinking I'm bored. Because that's his thing, like it's just that he thinks I'm bored. And I'm like, but like I don't understand if like if I if I'm a truthful person and I just say my feelings, I would tell you if I was bored. So
yeah,
why would you think that I'm bored? I would literally tell you, honey, I'm bored. When are we going home? But I don't do that because I know that he's there to just do his thing, and I'm just there just to watch him and support him, type of thing, you know. So, like that's what I'm saying. But yet he's putting that pressure on himself. I'm not, but he's feeling that, and I'm just like I know I'm just simply enjoying being here with you. But like I said, today I just wanted him to enjoy some time to himself. You know, I
that's
think he asked his brother if he wanted to go, but I think he just really felt like going off by himself and you know make him feel like he's you know, get, having some alone time. Anyways,
absolutely.
but yeah, no, I mean it's nice that he gets to use the shop. Yeah, face it. Point of the shop is to get away from home, but but my husband loves working with wood. If he had his dream, well, if he had his dream, him and Ryan would have a business doing mill work and stuff like that. Because they're fix it. Like my husband's a Mister Fix It, but he loves working with his hands. He enjoys that you know he always draws out his little thing ahead of time as well. He draws on paper his little diagram of how it's going to look and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And whereas that's not me. I don't do that shit. If I build something, it's just like, okay, what do I need? I'll figure that shit later. But he likes to draw it ahead of time and stuff like that, and so it makes me happy. But anyways, so if he had his dream, it would be like that we had a house with a garage to it so that he could use it for building and making different wood projects and stuff like that. And I love wood projects too. I'm like, cut me up some freaking um, table cutting boards and I'll freaking paint them, you know? Oh my God. Ryan's just having, what was that, Ryan? Holy fuck. Anyways, his voice went about 10 octaves high. But anyways, yeah, like because I like wood projects too. I used to paint wood and different things like that back in the day. So I would like that too, just to have, just for the fact of one day, hopefully he has a garage that he can turn into a workshop like any typical person that likes to work with their hands and create shit. Yeah, yeah. My husband does the same thing too. I guess, Charmaine, feel sorry for me. I'm cutting my own hair. I think I'm supposed to say hair. I'm cutting my own hair, not looking good.
I do feel sorry for you because I too cut my own hair, and it never goes well. Never. Just saying. I wish I wasn't. I wish I wasn't the way that I am. Like, I wish I could go and pay somebody to do my hair, or because I have naturally strong nails, so they grow long. So I paint them myself, but sometimes I wish I
So
could go and make them look pretty. And I don't
I
always feel like doing my hair and my eyebrows and the rest. I wish I could just get over myself and pay these people to what they've chosen to do, and I can't do it. Anytime I used to go get my hair cut or whatever, they'd always take too much off. You're like, oh, it's dead. I don't care. I'm paying you to do what I want. But they would just do what they wanted. So I lost trust in hairdressers. So I don't do that anymore. So I cut my own hair, and it's usually just like this. It's never
yeah.
good. Gambler, so my
I
heart is with you.
you see, yeah. 1 second. Yes. Um, no. So Ryan, sorry. So just go back for a second. Ryan and Steve. I mean, no, they don't really look alike. Steve and Ricky look alike. Ryan has, Ryan's like 6'3", whatever it is, and he's tall, and he has, good looking boy. But he has his mom's sister, like that side of the family, whereas Steve and Ricky look like their dad more so. Ryan looks like the Ormrod side of the family. Um, but all good looking boys, all good looking boys. Um, and as for the hair, one time, Charmaine, this is back when I kind of first met my ex-husband, Steve, and I grabbed my hair. I went upside down, went with scissors and cut it, not even thinking about the fact that obviously you're bringing it forward and that all of a sudden the back was shorter than this front.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fuck me. So I sat there with scissors, and this is when I was pregnant. I sat there with scissors, and my hair ended up being like to here by the time I was done cutting it. I felt so well. Actually, it was a nice change, but my hair is always this long. It doesn't grow anything past this. It does, but my hair's always been like long. I do not like it short. I just like long hair. That's why when when I put my hair up, my husband's always like, I don't like your hair like that. I'm like, I don't like your face like that, you know, but it's like, you're not going to tell me how to wear my hair. I'm like, I don't care, just like he won't let me tell him how to do his hair and stuff like that. But so he always makes fun. Like, he doesn't like it when I put my hair up. He likes it
I've
down.
been contemplating cutting my hair.
Don't fucking do that. No.
Cutting my hair, but I've never been okay with having short hair either. It's always been on the longer side, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I watch too much TikTok, and I see these women with their layers and layers and layers and layers of makeup, and then the Brad Mondos of the world doing their own haircuts and their butterfly, and they're doing it at home, and they make it look so easy. And I'm like, I could do that. I can do that. And I try, and it just doesn't work ever. It never looks like theirs looks.
Ooh.
That's what I'm going for. Like, life is so much easier with short hair, so much easier. And that's what I'm thinking. I don't I wash my hair twice a week, and usually by Friday it's in a ponytail or something because it's so greasy. But
Yeah.
But I feel like if it was shorter and it wouldn't take 6 hours to dry.
No, don't do it, Charmaine. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, don't do it. You'll regret it.
Mark, I should cut my hair really? Really?
Of course he's going to say that. He's going to go against that. No.
The only guy in the room wants me to cut my hair.
Most guys, okay, like women with long hair. It's their fetish.
It's their fetish.
Most men prefer long hair on females. And anyways, Charmaine's not going to lose that hair. And as for something that I think Anne set up there, so Anne, Ryan goes to the barber across the way there. He's a little pothead. What's his name? I don't know why I can't remember his name. It's an association name I should remember. Anyways, He's a little vocal pothead guy. I'd always see him when I worked at grade classes. But anyways, my husband, he just takes the razor himself and does it. Now, I'll agree. If he was to go to a barber, it would certainly look better. So I used to do it for him, but now he just does it himself because honestly, I fucking hate his hair is thick, man. And it's like, ugh, I could sit there for an hour still fucking going at it. Anyways, my husband does it now. And then he'll come in and he'll be like he did the other day. He's like, can you do behind my neck for me? When Ryan, oh my God. So one day I was on a live and then he got Ryan to help him cut his hair. Oh my God. Fucking Ryan went up the backside of his head with obviously the blade off.
Oh, no.
Fucking line this long. I fixed it so it didn't look nearly as noticeable. But oh my God. It was like freaking. And then Steve's like, how do you fuck this up? Like, seriously. And so he never gets Ryan to ever touch his hair again. But it's like, seriously, big fucking line right up that, like, good thick line there. But like I said, I managed to whatever. But it's a good thing my husband wears baseball hats, like at work and stuff like that. So he's always like, well, it will grow back. And sure as shit it does, right? But I just couldn't believe it when he turned around and I'm like, so do you seriously let Ryan cut your hair? And he's like, well, I didn't know he was going to fuck it up this bad or whatever. Anyways, I do think that definitely a barber haircut typically, like
So much are barbers now, like for men. I don't think, like, you can't say that they're like
$30.
I can't go to a hairdresser for less than $120, no matter what. And
Yeah.
I can wash my hair by myself. And like I said, the cutting it is a problem. I understand that, but I can't justify that money.
Like I said, it's a rarity for me to put out that kind of money because, again, I've never been, but every now and again, I would like to splurge. And, I mostly did it more or less when we were general managers at the BCMI there in Lloydminster, because it's kind of like you live there, you don't pay rent, you get free food, got money. I think I'll go get my hair done, But like I said, it was always a treat. I always deemed it as a treat, not like a necessity like some people. It was just a treat,
Yeah.
Like I like highlights, but I haven't had highlights in my hair for a long time. But I like having highlights. One time, the woman sucked. Whoever did my hair this one time, but my husband really liked it. Like everything I asked for, she did not do. I looked like this was kind of darker, whatever. And then here, like right here was all kind of caramel blonde. And my husband liked it, but I was like, this is not what I asked for though. Because I like it so that I have like dark and then a lighter and then like caramelly color, like kind of like 3 colors, and it's funny enough. I went to Great Clips or something like that. No, it was called Chatters. Right? It cost me the least amount of money. And instead of taking 4 hours like those bitches at the expensive hair salon, it took 2 hours. The girl did my hair. And this was a younger girl. And
Yeah.
she did the best job out of any of the other ones that ever touched my hair, So I paid less, took half the time less, and she was young, and I had that was the best time I ever walked away going, this is what I asked for.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm disappointed most times than not. You go in there and you're like, here's a picture. Yeah, just like this. Then they cut my bangs too short, oops. And I was like, what part of don't cut them above my eyebrows did you not understand? Like seriously. Like that one pissed me off because I'm like,
And you
seriously?
can't fix a bad bang.
No. Like they were literally sitting up here, like I was freaking from Dumb and Dumber movie, put a bowl on my head and whatever. But anyways, that was, like I said, that girl at that Chatter's place was the best one that I walked out of there going, this is what I asked for.
Yeah.
It's very rare. But like I said, it's a treat for me on there. Thing is those multiple $100 cuts are just one-offs. You've got
That's
to keep going back at least once.
And
Well,
like my daughter, she went when I was down there a few weeks ago. She went to the hair salon, and I thought she was going to get her hair done. And she came back, and I couldn't tell what she had done. She's got kind of darker, and then it goes blonde. I think that's the opposite of ombre. Whatever.
yeah.
But she said, well, they toned it. I'm like, oh, like with shampoo? She's like, no, they toned it. So I mean, I'll believe you, but it didn't look different to me. She didn't get cut or anything. And I was like, well, how much did that cost you? $120. I literally couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's what I hate too, Charmaine, when I buy
$20.
when you well, no, I had that too. And that was in White Court. I like they literally charged me. I swear to God, I think it was like $15 a strip. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? I literally had 8 strips in, and you couldn't even tell that I had fucking highlights. Like literally, it was like caramel. No, it literally was the same freaking almost color as my hair. Very little difference. And I paid that. Like, I can't remember because I was pissed.
I would be too.
Because you put out that money. I was pissed. And I'm pretty sure that I said to her, like, no, look, because I was like $150 or something. And I was like, look, no, I got literally these 8 fucking things or whatever the fuck it was. And there's no difference. It was no difference at all. So I usually don't go to hairdressers because usually when I go, I'm disappointed because usually I don't get what I want.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly why I stopped going, because I would sit there and watch them. They'd be cutting and cutting and cutting, and I'd look at the hair and I know that I have a lot of hair, but are you going to stop soon? This is exactly the opposite of what I asked for.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose any length. What does that mean to you?
Oh, I know. Don't you love that? When you tell them that you don't want to lose any length. Okay, take off the little bit of dead ends. Okay, I realize there's going to be a fucking, like about an inch gone or whatever, which is a lot. Trust me, it's a lot when an inch is even gone because you can totally tell. But anyways, and then it's just like, hold on a second. If my hair's here and I ask for an inch, yeah.
When is this an inch? Are you like
here
using the man penis measurement? Stick, you know what I mean? 4 inches is actually 6 inches. Like,
yeah. And it's kind of like when Ryan goes and gets his hair cut at the barber. Like Ryan always has his a little bit longer on top and then short on the sides, right? With the kind of like the cut line. But for whatever reason, Ryan keeps saying, don't cut this short. Like, leave this longer, because his hair kind of goes like to this side. But for whatever reason, I can't think of his name, for fuck's sakes. Well, let's just call him Alex. Alex just keeps taking off and trimming this side as if it was part of the short part. And Ryan's like, he'll come back each time. And it's like the barber just does what he wants.
Yeah, he just doesn't listen.
And he doesn't listen. And I'm like, because Ryan says to me, like, how would you explain if you want this part still kept long and this part, to keep it up with the same height, like as this side type of thing, because of where the part is. And I'm like, well, it's not hard. You just tell them that you want this part just long. And he goes, but I do. And he keeps cutting it every single time. Like, it looks fine, his hair, but it's not what Ryan asks for. And that little prick over there always just does what he wants, but it's the closest one. It's like literally across the bridge, so that's kind of why Ryan goes back. But Ryan's like, how many times do I have to keep going? And I keep telling the guy that I want this part still longer, but they always keep cutting it as if it's part of the shorter shave or whatever. We do need Adam for the hair stuff. Yeah. Oh, Adam would have probably liked this part of the convo. He'd be in there like a dirty shirt. Anyways, I need to go call my husband. It's 4:00 here. It's 5:00 over there, and stuff like that. But anyways, thank you guys for this fun extra chatter at the end of it. Hopefully you guys had a good time talking about it too, as just YOLO random shit at the end. But I gotta get going because I want to see what my husband's doing because I know we gotta go out to Walmart tonight and see what he's doing right now. Anyways, thanks, Charmaine.
Everybody, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, let's ditch their asses, Charmaine. Shh. We're gone. We're out of here. Oh, and thank you, Miss Dog Lover, for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for that.
A Norfolk night, the world is cold. We stand surrounded, we are not alone. Within my reverie, there's no